Chapter 322. 100 years ago, the famous water moon pirate cultivated the mystic flower treasured Bible, and his speed allowed him to look down on the great countries. The water moon pirate used his extreme speed to sneak into the treasuries of various clans and steal many treasures. Even those at the true lord rank couldn't do anything to him. Mystic flower lightning charm step. Zhao Feng's figure was like a blur of lightning. At first glance, it was as if countless petals of a lotus had bloomed. It turned out that Zhao Feng had absorbed some of the mystic flower treasured Bible's essence and merged it into his lightning inheritance. The lightning inheritance was extremely profound and powerful. Zhao Feng still focused on it, but the mystic flower treasured Bible was more practical, and the usage of movement techniques was more perfect. Therefore, Zhao Feng absorbed the essence of the mystic flower treasured Bible and merged it into his lightning inheritance. Right now the fusion rate was only around 10%. However, even so, Zhao Feng's usage of speed had improved. Cold sweat appeared on Tian Yunji's forehead. He had never seen such a terrifying speed amongst the younger generation. Even his spiritual sense couldn't catch it. Zhao Feng's movement skill was as fast as lightning, and as ghostly as a ghost. Blurry afterimages intertwined with each other, making it hard to pass off as real. Blade of lightning. Amidst the ghostly silhouette of lightning, a sharp electric blade appeared. It was about 5 feet long, and was formed by tiny green electric arcs. It was vibrating at a high speed. Shua. The lightning blade was as elusive as the ghostly figure. With unpredictable methods and angles, it ruthlessly slashed at the side of Tian Yunji's body, precisely hitting his weak point. Ding Qi. Tian Yunji broke out in a cold sweat. Relying on the senses of his saber intent, he barely managed to block the lightning blade. Crackle! The blade of lightning exploded, and a powerful ripple of lightning swept across the area. Tian Yunji's body went numb. If it wasn't for the fact that he had used his bloodline power, he would have been heavily injured. Although Tian Yunji had blocked this attack, he was in a disadvantageous position. The numbness in his body lowered his speed and agility. In terms of speed, Zhao Feng had the absolute advantage, and he forced Tian Yunji into a corner. Speed was the only unbeatable skill in the world. Although Tian Yunji's battle power was comparable to Zhao Feng's after he had opened his bloodline, the difference in speed made him lose the initiative. The Mystic Flower Electric Phantom Steps fused with the Mystic Flower Unfettered Steps and the Phantom Lightning. With my current speed, I can look down on those of the same level. I might even be able to catch up to the water moon pirate back in the day. Zhao Feng's figure was like lightning as he successfully suppressed Tian Yunji. If it wasn't for the fact that Tian Yunji had comprehended blade intent and blocked Zhao Feng's attacks, he would have died many times already. Furthermore, Zhao Feng didn't even use his bloodline power to increase his battle power. He was using the Sky Cloud Ganoderma to familiarize himself with the mysterious flower electric charm steps that he had just comprehended. He also occasionally used some of the profound skills he had learned from the mysterious flower treasure Bible and the lightning inheritance. The more Tian Yunji fought, the more shocked he became. In this dangerous situation, his potential and blade intent were being squeezed out. If I can merge the evil essence of the mystic flower treasured Bible into the lightning inheritance, my speed will have a chance to surpass the water moon pirate. The power of the lightning inheritance will also surpass the original inheritance. An outline started to form in Zhao Feng's mind. It wasn't that he hadn't tried merging moves with moves and profoundness with profoundness when he was cultivating mortal skills. However, the skills he was cultivating now were all at the spiritual level and above. Many of the profoundness of his previous skills, such as the mystic wind palm and the broken four wind forms, were all very basic skills. When Zhao Feng suppressed Tian Yunji, the upper echelons of the Iron Blood branch and the middle and lower echelons all gained an overwhelming advantage. The Yin branch family was pushed back again and again. Tian Yunji, who had finally been invited, was suppressed by Zhao Feng. Yun Sha, Elder Gao, and the other upper echelons of the branch were shocked and admiration appeared on their faces. In terms of strength, Zhao Feng was more than qualified to be the leader of the branch. More importantly, he was still so young, and was considered very young in the younger generation. His potential was limitless. Yun Sha, Dai Lan and company finally understood why the deputy patriarch liked this youth. Escaping the marriage in the flooding Lake City, fighting against the bandits in the Water Moon Treasury, and kidnapping Empress Qin. How could a normal genius do such a thing? Kukyukyu. A string of ghostly figures appeared near the shore. Zhao Feng had distanced himself from Tian Yunji. Tian Yunji was gasping for breath. His forehead was covered in beads of sweat, and there were several burn marks on his body. Why didn't you continue? You almost beat me just now. Tian Yunji gritted his teeth. Zhao Feng didn't look at him. Instead, his left eye focused on the other side of the river. Plop! A true human rank Yin-side family reinforcement fell from the air, and half kneeled on the ground. His body was drenched in cold sweat, as he looked helplessly at Zhao Feng. This true human rank expert was a guest advisor of the Yin branch family. He had heard the news, and rushed over to help the Yin branch family. Every expert at the True Spirit realm meant a bit of hope for the Yin branch family. However, before the upper echelons of the Yin family could rejoice, the true human rank reinforcement was defeated by Zhao Feng in one glance. Preposterous. While fighting with me, he was still paying attention to the big picture and defeating other experts at the True Spirit realm. Tian Yunji was both shocked and angry. He was even more wary of Zhao Feng's strength. What did this mean? Zhao Feng didn't use his full strength against him. The opponent was paying attention to the big picture. The head of the Yin family, Yin Sha, Dai Yi and the other experts all noticed this detail. Not only was Zhao Feng's battle power strong, he also had the intelligence to see the big picture. The Yin branch family's hope of reinforcements was destroyed by Zhao Feng. Does the heavens want my Yin branch family to die? The head of the Yin family's expression was full of sorrow, as his chi of true spirit trembled and almost burned. His powerful aura pushed back Yin Sha and Dai Yi. This true mystic rank expert was old, and his battle power wasn't at his peak. Otherwise, he would be able to suppress Yin Sha and Dai Yi. Head of the Yin branch family. The Yin branch family and Tian Yunji couldn't bear to see this happen. At this moment in time, the head of the Yin family was risking his life. Head of the Yin branch family. If you burn your chi of true spirit, you might be able to kill one or two experts at the True Spirit realm. But your life will come to an end. Without you, the branch family of the Yin family will still be doomed. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. With his words, the battle between the Yin branch family and the Iron Blood religion fell into a short silence. What do you want? The head of the Yin family clenched his teeth. He stared closely at Zhao Feng and saw a sliver of hope. Zhao Feng leading the chapter to attack the Yin branch family seemed to be strong, but he was actually holding back. In reality, Zhao Feng had his own worries. If he destroyed the Yin branch family, the Iron Blood religion would also suffer heavy losses. This was especially so for the head of the Yin branch family. If he burned his chi of true spirit, without any regard for his life, how many elites and upper echelon members would the Iron Blood religion lose? The Yin branch family surrenders, and will give up half of their territory and resources. They will sign a 50-year blood contract, and become a subsidiary of the Iron Blood religion. Zhao Feng said slowly, instead of destroying the Yin branch family with heavy losses, it was better to take it easy and obtain great benefits. Hearing this, some of the upper echelons of the Yin branch family, who had fallen into a desperate situation, couldn't help but reveal looks of joy. The Iron Blood religion didn't actually kill them all. Instead, they proposed a condition that at least the Yin branch family wouldn't be destroyed. The head of the Yin branch family thought for a while before clenching his teeth. It's impossible for the Yin branch family to become a subsidiary of the Iron Blood religion. Plus, half of the territory and resources are too much. The two then started to communicate through spiritual sense. The head of the Yin branch family was only willing to give up 1/3 of the territory and resources. He also wanted the Iron Blood religion to promise that they wouldn't attack the Yin branch family for 100 years, or else the blood contract would be invalid. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed. Why didn't this head of the Yin branch family back down? Right at this moment, Tian Yunji's mental state had recovered and he exclaimed coldly, "Head of the Yin family, don't agree to his conditions. Let me deal with him." He took a deep breath, and the two bloodlines in his body almost merged together. His chi of true spirit was almost burning as he raised the azure blade once again. I didn't think that the battle just now would stimulate your bloodline and blade intent. Zhao Feng smiled coldly. Pa! An elegant mountain river folding fan appeared in his hand, and his bloodline started to throb. In an instant his blue hair danced wildly in the wind, and a faint green lightning mark appeared between his eyebrows. Who? The water moon god peach fan in Zhao Feng's hand waved through the air, and a ripple of lightning instantly appeared like a mountain. Bung! The embankment of the river directly collapsed, and the river water surged hundreds of feet high. The towering water ripples and lightning fan shadows were like hundreds of feet of thunder, crushing everything in their path. What? Tian Yunji's blade intent was shattered by the terrifying mental energy power of the water moon god peach fan. Sky cloud river breaking slash. He slashed out with all his might and slashed through the river, tearing apart the ripple of lightning and lightning. The two terrifying forces clashed together, and Tian Yunji immediately spat out a mouthful of blood with a pale face. Boom! Tian Yunji's figure was blasted several miles away by the terrifying ripple of lightning and lightning. His entire body was charred as he fell to the ground and fainted on the verge of death. Such a shocking and magnificent scene caused the people on both sides to be shocked and sluggish. Who would have thought that Zhao Feng would use the water moon god peach fan and have such a powerful attack, combining the power of lightning and water to create a terrifying power of water and lightning. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had just used the water moon god peach fan to launch a mental energy attack to shatter Tian Yunji's blade intent. Whether it was a clash of mental energy or power, it was a merciless suppression. Stop. I agree to your request. The Yin family patriarch's face paled as he deeply stared at Zhao Feng and raised his hands. Crack. Zhao Feng closed the mountain river folding fan in his hand, and his breathing became hurried. He raised his hand, and all the members of the Iron Blood branch stopped attacking. Following Zhao Feng's powerful attack, the Yin side family's will to fight was dug out, and they all surrendered without any objections. Of course, although the attack just then was powerful, it had used up 20% of Zhao Feng's chi of true spirit. On the same day, the upper echelons of both sides reached an agreement near the river. The branch family of the Yin family ceded half of their territory and resources, such as the Origin Crystal Mine, and signed a 50-year blood contract. After today's battle, the situation of the Thousand Water River had completely changed. The Iron Blood branch was truly unrivaled in the Thousand Water River area. Zhao Feng's name shook the Thousand Water Zone and made countless forces, big and small, tremble in fear. Chapter 323. It could be predicted that for a long time, there would only be one voice in the Thousand Water River area. Being the chapter leader of the Iron Blood Religion chapter, Zhao Feng was the uncrowned king of this area. After defeating the Yin side family, the entire Thousand Water River area will be under the control of the Iron Blood Religion chapter. I can cultivate in peace and prepare for the sacred true dragon gathering. Zhao Feng's heart calmed down slightly. After the two signed the blood contract, Zhao Feng led the Iron Blood Religion back to the Iron Blood Religion chapter. On the other side of the river, the upper echelon of the Yun family were filled with sorrow, but there were even more people that rejoiced. The head of the Yun family had a sorrowful expression as he sent off Zhao Feng with his eyes. This brat is terrifying. Reaching the true spirit realm at such a young age, the Iron Blood Religion will definitely recommend him to the sacred true dragon gathering half a year later. His gaze suddenly shifted to the charred body of Tian Yunji. Tian Yunji's face was pale white, and his life aura was weak. He was currently unconscious. How's the situation? The head of the Yin family looked towards the high-leveled alchemists. With our timely treatment, his life isn't in danger. However, a large portion of his injuries come from the mental energy aspect. A white-haired old alchemist said solemnly, "Mental energy injuries? My family has many rare spiritual pills that can heal injuries to the mental energy." The head of the Yin family said, "We've already given him the spiritual pills and started the treatment. However, his mental energy injuries are related to the blade intent, and external help is limited." He can only rely on himself. The white-haired alchemist smiled bitterly. Normal mental injuries could be slowly healed with sufficient resources and conditions. However, on the level of blade intent, even normal doctors couldn't help. What kind of background does this Zhao Fengzai bloodline have to be able to defeat Tian Yunji's blade intent? This is troublesome. The head of the Yun family had a solemn and worried expression. Tian Yunji was the descendant of the Tian and Yun clan experts. It was rare for him to inherit two different bloodlines. Even in the Great Kingdom, his talent was one of the best. Perhaps only the Prince Jin of the royal family could surpass him. What will happen? The Yin family patriarch asked. The worst-case scenario is the collapse of one's consciousness, which is not much different from death. The probability of this happening is relatively high. The best outcome would be to rebuild after destruction and be reborn. However, the probability is very small. The white-haired old alchemist muttered. Is there no way to save it? There's basically nothing we can do. Even if a primal core realm venerate came personally, he wouldn't be able to turn the situation around. Unless a void god realm king appears. Apparently, a void god realm king's cultivation can reach a deeper level of the soul, and they can even travel the universe. The white-haired old apothecary shook his head. The Yin family patriarch couldn't help but feel a trace of bitterness at the corner of his mouth. Most of the 8 strongest forces in Canopy Great Country didn't have any sovereigns. As for void god realm kings, there was no need to even think about it. There might not be any on the continent. That's right, old patriarch. There was a mysterious sage in the 6 Warlock Tower, who was well-versed in astronomy, geography, divination, medicine and spell formations. Supposedly, even a venerable from one of the 10 great sects, the Heavenly Origin sect, has paid a visit to him. One of the old alchemists suddenly asked, the sage of the 6 Warlock Tower? Are you talking about Empress Qin's teacher? The Yin family patriarch's eyes lit up. Even Empress Qin, who had the title of Empress Qin, was the disciple of that sage. From this, one could see how capable he was. But shortly after, the light in his eyes dimmed. He had heard of that sage before, and he spent most of his time traveling the world. Even in the 6 Warlock Tower, he didn't see any guests. No matter what, we have to try. Hopefully, with the combined power of the Tian and Yun families, we can invite that sage. If we can get Empress Qin to help, then our hopes will be higher. The Yin family patriarch's eyes became moist as he clenched his fists so hard that his nails almost dug into his palms. The elders next to him were silent. Not many people knew that the Yin family patriarch was Tian Yunji's great-grandfather. Even Tian Yunji himself didn't know that his mother had passed away, and this was the first time he had come to the Yin family. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Chapter of the Iron Blood Religion. Zhao Feng sat cross-legged, and the qi of true spirit within his body flowed smoothly. The qi of true spirit was in a liquid form, and was even more condensed. There was a spring in his dantian, which was the source of true spirit of those at the true spirit realm. Different true spirit realms had different sizes of their source of true spirit. If the source of true spirit of those at the true human rank was a bowl of water, then those at the true mystic rank were a tub of water. The strongest true lord rank source of true spirit could be considered a tub of water. The difference between the 3 was extremely large. This was especially true for those at the true lord rank. Their every action could create unparalleled power. With Zhao Feng's current strength, he could still fight against those at the true mystic rank, such as the Yin family patriarch. Those at the true mystic rank were several times stronger than the Yin family patriarch. Zhao Feng probably wouldn't even have the ability to fight back against the Water Moon Pirate. As for those at the true lord rank, such as the Flooding Lake City Lord, or the Deputy Patriarch of the Iron Blood Religion, they could kill those at the true human rank with just a finger. Luckily, Zhao Feng was under the protection of the Iron Blood Religion, and didn't need to worry about the Flooding Lake City Lord finding him for revenge. My source of true spirit has started to form, and has been consolidated. The next step is to refine and expand it. Zhao Feng inspected the source of true spirit in his dantian. His source of true spirit was dark azure, and crackled with lightning. If he didn't restrain it, he would release a destructive aura, that would make nearby beings feel uneasy. Once he had entered the true spirit realm, he would no longer be mortal. Zhao Feng's state of existence far surpassed normal beings, and his source of true spirit could communicate with the heaven-earth Yuan Qi and absorb it to a certain degree. Amongst them, the lightning Yuan Qi was the most compatible with Zhao Feng and was the easiest to absorb. Next was wind, water, fire. The others were all blurry and couldn't be absorbed. Next, as long as Zhao Feng strengthened his source of true spirit, he would be able to reach the early stages of the true human rank. Normal true human rank cultivators would need at least half a year to 2 to 3 years to reach the early stages without any bottlenecks. However, from the early stages to the late stages was difficult and required time, luck, and talent. From the late stages to the peak stages was the same. It was a small realm. The peak stages of the true human rank was the same as Blood Fiend and the Fan-Flying Bandit. At this level, one could try to break through to the second realm of the true spirit realm, the true mystic rank. The true mystic rank was a relatively large threshold and required one to communicate with the heaven-earth and form their own root of law. I have the mystic flower saint liquid from the water moon treasury, which can help those at the true spirit realm comprehend the heaven-earth and form their root of law. This will increase the chances of reaching the true mystic rank by 30%. Zhao Feng's heart moved. The mystic flower saint liquid was a treasure that Zhao Feng had obtained from the water moon treasury and came from the 3rd floor of the purple copper coffin. Thinking about it now, in terms of value, the mystic flower saint liquid was comparable to the water moon god peach fan. If this liquid was put up for auction in the Rising Dragon auction, who knew what price it would fetch? After half a month of consolidation, Zhao Feng came out of seclusion and asked about the matters of the chapter. Currently, the Thousand Water Division had dominated an area, and there were many small families, small forces, and scattered experts that had come to join them. Bloodfiend and Chen Mingzhen, the 2 vice-chapter leaders, were extremely busy. Zhao Feng, the chapter leader, spent most of his time in seclusion and didn't ask about matters. Zhao Feng didn't even receive those at the true spirit realm who came to visit. Chapter leader, you've finally come out. Blood Fiend, Chen Mingzhen, and the other upper echelon immediately came over to report some important matters. Now that the Iron Blood chapter controlled the Thousand Water River, there were still many problems that needed to be solved. The leader of the Severed Blood Pirates, the Severed Blood Bald Eagle, says that he knows the chapter leader and was once a brother of the chapter leader. He wants to see you and get an upper echelon position in the Iron Blood religion. The demonic Yin King of Mount Qi, who has reached the true mystic rank and has a feud with the Flooding Lake City Lord. He's heard of the chapter leader's talent and wants to invite you to the mountain for a drink. Apparently, he has a daughter who's as pretty as a flower and wants to. There's a famous Taoist called the 8 Trigrams Immortal who once divined the fortune of the Canopy Great Country's emperor. He says that you have the aura of a true dragon and wants to help the chapter leader rule the world. At this point in time, all sorts of matters were sent to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng couldn't help but rub his forehead and furrow his eyebrows. If there's no life or death situation, help me reject any invitations. He waved his hand and threw all the matters to the vice-chapter leader, elder, and the upper echelon. After calming his heart, Zhao Feng said to Dai Yi, I have a letter here that needs to be sent to Taigon Master and ask him to come and forge a weapon for me. Taigon Master? He's a famous blacksmith master and an honorary elder of the headquarters. I'll send someone to deliver the letter, but I can't guarantee that he'll come. Dai Yi said solemnly, My relationship with Taigon Master isn't bad. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. The reason he wanted to ask Taigon Master was because he wanted to forge a long-range weapon, or use the 5 elemental piercing crystal and 5 elemental primal crystal to increase the power of the Luoho Bao. Apart from that, the water moon god Peach Fan had 7 small interspatial compartments that could store powerful weapons according to his needs. After these matters were done, Zhao Feng went back into seclusion. The merging of the essence of the Mystic Flower Treasured Bible was a long and slow process. Flooding Lake City, City Lord Palace. City Lord, the news is accurate. Zhao Feng has become the Iron Blood Religion Division leader and has swept across the Thousand Water River area and even defeated the #1 genius of the main Tian family, Tian Yunji. A dim shadow finished reporting and disappeared in a flash. The flooding Lake City Lord stood with his hands behind his back. His expression was dark, and his eyes were like the endless night sky with a silver and red flame burning within. After a while he turned and asked behind him, "Exiner, what do you think?" Schwa, a beautiful figure dressed in a snow-white veil, was as elegant as a fairy, as if she had walked out from a landscape painting. "I've decided to participate in the sacred True Dragon gathering." Lu Qinxin gritted her teeth as a ripple appeared in her beautiful eyes. "Hee, with your bloodline and hidden strength, you'll be hard to find a match in the younger generation of the great country. It's time for you to walk out of the great country and the northern continent and enter the stage of the True Dragon continent." The flooding Lake City Lord laughed. Chapter 324. Lu Qinxin's change made the flooding Lake City Lord happy, but also slightly surprised. His daughter, whether it was in terms of talent, bloodline, beauty or talent, she was the best in the world. On the surface, the flooding Lake City Lord was the genius of the flooding Lake Lu family in the past 1,000 years. However, only the flooding Lake City Lord knew that his daughter's talent and potential were all above his. However, after her mother and master passed away one after another, Lu Qinxin gradually became indifferent to the ways of the world. Her state of mind became tranquil and quiet, and she didn't like to fight. "Who made you change your mind? Is it because of that ungrateful brat?" The flooding Lake City Lord couldn't help but be curious. "No, Exiner saw master not long ago." Lu Qinxin smiled. Ever since Zhao Feng ran away from the marriage, it was rare to see such a smile on her face. "Master? You mean the 6th Warlock Divine Sage?" The flooding Lake City Lord's expression finally changed. The 6th Warlock Divine Tower's knowledge was as vast as the ocean, and was proficient in divination. Even Empress Qin was his disciple. Several months ago, the flooding Lake City Lord had asked to see the sage, and asked him to find out where Zhao Feng had escaped to. However, the flooding Lake City Lord didn't get what he wanted. Master found that some of the stronger inheritances in the sacred True Dragon gathering, such as the Heaven's Legacy inheritance, have a 10% chance of connecting to the Azure Flower continent, and this chance is still increasing. He also said that the Azure Flower continent will soon welcome a great change, and told me to grasp this chance. Lu Qinxin's eyes flashed with unprecedented expectation. Heaven's Legacy inheritance, more than 10% chance. The flooding Lake City Lord was shocked. Everyone knew that the Heaven's Legacy inheritance was the most ancient and mysterious inheritance in the world. However, the chance of the Heaven's Legacy inheritance connecting to the Azure Flower continent was extremely small. It would usually happen every 10,000 years or so. Overall, it was 1 in 1,000. After all, the sacred True Dragon gathering was once every 10 years. This time, the 6th Warlock Divine Sage found that although the chance of the Heaven's Legacy inheritance appearing was only 10%, it was 100 times more than normal. "Exiner, you must grab hold of this opportunity. It's hard to get a chance like this even after dozens of eras. Every time the Heaven's Legacy inheritance appears, the situation of the continent will change. We can predict that our era will surpass the era of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion." The flooding Lake City Lord couldn't help but be excited. The Heaven's Legacy inheritance only appeared once every 10,000 years, and the lifespan of normal cultivators at the True Spirit Realm was only a few hundred years. In the face of tens of thousands of years, even sovereigns of the Primal Core Realm were insignificant. The flooding Lake City Lord had participated in the sacred True Dragon gathering twice, and had reached the top 100. However, in the past 100 years, the sacred True Dragon gathering hadn't sent any powerful inheritances. "Father, don't celebrate too early. This is just a divination. When the time comes, it might not necessarily be the Tianji inheritance." Lu Qinxin smiled. Northern Continent Tianyuan sect. At the peak of a vast sea of clouds, the mountains were majestic and endless. Beneath the layer of clouds, some palaces and halls could be faintly seen. They had an ancient charm and heavenly fragrance, and red-crowned cranes and spirit birds were wandering about in the sky. It was quiet and tranquil, like a paradise in a painting. At this moment in time, dozens of clan disciples were gathered on one of the peaks. Their cultivations were all at least at the half-step true spirit realm, and more than half were at the true human rank. The one in the lead was a silver-robed youth. He was handsome and extraordinary, standing out from the crowd. His eyes seemed to flash with a godly light, and with every breath, his chi of true spirit connected to the mysteries of heaven and earth, creating an invisible pressure that was enough to make normal true mystic ranks change their expressions. The crowd of disciples glanced at him with great respect, as if this man possessed the power of a god. He was the head disciple of the heavenly Yuan clan, Emotiani. Great Luo Ring Blade. A blue-robed youth at the late stages of the true human rank roared, and slashed out with the blade in his hand. Although it didn't contain any blade intent, the power of the blade was comparable to Tian Yunji's. If this blade was taken head-on, it would be able to heavily injure normal true human ranks. Heaven-shifting mountain. The silver-robed Emotiani's expression was calm as he swiped his hand, and an orange light pierced through the blue-robed youth's great Luo ring. Wang, the giant blade light that could shake mountains, suddenly shattered, and moved towards the blue-robed youth. Wah! The blue-robed youth instantly spat out a mouthful of blood. It was as if he had slashed in the air, and injured himself instead. Hehe. Luo Jin. If you comprehended blade intent you might be able to fight me, but even if you reach the true mystic rank you won't be my match. Emotiani shook his head and smiled. Brother Mo's Yuan Mountain Great Secret Technique is indeed worthy of being one of the strongest spiritual grade skills of the clan. Even some true lord ranks can't comprehend it. It's hard to find a second person with such comprehension in the northern continent of the same generation. That's right. Brother Emo suppressed his cultivation to the same level and defeated his opponent in one move. This time Brother Emo will at least reach the top 10 in the Sacred True Dragon Gathering, and might even reach the top 3. The elite disciples on the peak discussed, and some of the youths were full of admiration. Emotiani slowly took back his hand and said, I wasn't even the head disciple in the last Sacred True Dragon Gathering, and barely made it into the top 30. In the entire northern continent, only 3 people made it into the top 20. The Sacred True Dragon Gathering was held once every 10 years, as long as one's age didn't exceed 50. For those at the True Spirit Realm, 50 years was only 1/6 of their life, and they still had a lot of room to grow. 10 years ago, Emotiani wasn't even 20 and had such achievements. It was hard to imagine how much he had grown in another 10 years. Being one of the 10 great clans, the Heavenly Yuan clan has 10 recommended spots for each Sacred True Dragon Gathering. The competition for 10 spots is too intense. Our Heavenly Origin sect has more than 1,000 inner court disciples and dozens of true disciples. Although the disciples on the peak were all elites, many of them still had worried expressions. Emotiani's eyes scanned over the disciples, and suddenly landed on an intelligent girl. The young girl wore a light purple dress that resembled smoke. Her clear eyes were like translucent crystals, and her beautiful face was like perfect snow porcelain. Her entire body was suffused with a strange luster, as if she was a beauty made of ice and jade. She stood in the crowd. She wasn't the tallest, but she was delicate and elegant. Any young man who looked at her face would be dazed. Sister Yufei, I haven't seen you spar with others recently, but with your strength, you should be able to get a spot. Emotiani rarely spoke to someone. He was the head disciple of the Heavenly Yuan clan, and there were only 1 or 2 of the 10 great clans in the entire northern continent. There was also the Mystic Ice clan in the extreme northern continent, which was also one of the 10 great clans. Therefore, Emotiani stood at the peak of the younger generation of the northern continent. This Zhao Yufei rarely shows herself. Apparently, she's a genius recommended by the 3 Yuan clan. Apparently, her talent is extremely good and her bloodline is unique. She was taken in as a disciple by a sovereign at the Origin Core realm, and rarely shows herself. She's extremely mysterious. Many elite disciples of the Heavenly Yuan clan looked at this mysterious and beautiful girl. In this generation of the Heavenly Yuan clan, only Emotiani and Zhao Yufei had been taken in as disciples by a sovereign. I've been comprehending a secret technique and receiving pointers from Master. I'm afraid I don't have the right to participate in the sacred True Dragon gathering. Zhao Yufei's voice was gentle and polite. Sister Yufei is too humble. Who would dare look down on a disciple of a sovereign? Mo Tiany's voice was filled with curiosity. This Zhao Yufei had entered the Heavenly Yuan clan a year ago, and was only at the half-step True Spirit realm. How long had it been? And now she had reached the late stages of the true human rank, and could be ranked in the top 10 of the core disciples. This terrifying advancement might be related to her unique bloodline. Furthermore, after reaching the True Spirit realm, the chi of True Spirit within her body became more and more unfathomable. Of course, Mo Tiany, who stood at the peak of the younger generation of the northern continent, didn't need to fear any geniuses. His true opponents were the strongest geniuses of the middle, western, eastern and southern continents, as well as the disciples of a few sovereigns. Zhao Yufei had a smile in her eyes and didn't ask to spar. Following that, one or two core disciples at the true human rank gathered their courage and sparred with her. Zhao Yufei's cultivation technique appeared to be as smooth as flowing water. All of her movements and moves had a pleasing feeling to the eye. Even if the chi of True Spirit exploded, it was still simple in her hands. The first early-stage true human rank was defeated by Zhao Yufei in 10 moves. The second late-stage true human rank was defeated in 20 moves. From the looks of it, Zhao Yufei had the upper hand. At the same time, on an even higher mountain peak in the distance, a white-robed old Taoist with a sage-like demeanor and a stalwart purple-robed man were watching the group of disciples sparring with each other. Mo Tiany has reached the early stages of the true mystic rank after a few years, and his Yuan Mountain Great Secret technique has reached the 7th level. He's much better than last time. Looks like he still has a chance to reach the top 10 this time. Whether or not he can reach the top 3 will depend on his improvement in the next half a year and the fortune of our sect. The white-robed Taoist smiled and didn't give off any true force. This Zhao Yufei's bloodline inheritance isn't normal. You've just returned to the Azure Flower continent, and you've picked up such a jade. The purple-robed male's voice was low and slow. Although he was right in front of them, his figure gave off a blurry feeling. Her bloodline is extremely compatible with the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi, and can even absorb the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi. I've been looking through the 10,000 ancient races, and her bloodline inheritance seems to be related to an almost extinct race. The white-robed Taoist suddenly took a deep breath with a solemn expression. 10,000 ancient races. The purple-robed male was shocked for the first time. Any bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races can be traced back to the ancient era. Even the bloodline of a Void God Realm king can't be compared. The 10,000 ancient races was just a legend even for sovereigns at the Origin Core realm. It belonged to the era of legends, and it was too far away. Even if she only has a faint bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races, her future is limitless and can change the entire continent. The white-robed Taoist's voice trembled with excitement. Chapter 325. The 10,000 ancient races list the 10,000 races of the ancient era, and is too far away from the present. I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of power this bloodline will have after it awakens. The purple-robed male revealed a faint smile. Bloodlines would awaken and reverse the ancestor's bloodline as the owner's cultivation increased, and there would even be rare mutations. Reverse the ancestor's bloodline was the ability of the ancestor's bloodline. For example, if the ancestor was a faux god sovereign martial emperor, as the bloodline reverted, the descendants would have the same or similar bloodline abilities as the ancestor. However, after countless generations of inheritance, the bloodline of the later generations was very thin. Whether it was Zhao Yufei, Lu Qinxin, Ao Yuetian, or even the Flooding Lake City Lord, their bloodlines were extremely thin, and were usually less than 100th, or even 1,000th of the ancestor's bloodline. If the ancestor was too old, it wouldn't even be 100th of 1,000th. From this, one could see how strong one would be if they could reverse the ancestor's bloodline to 1/10th, 1/5th, or even half. Right now, Yufei's bloodline needs to be evaluated. Her specialty is that her compatibility with the heaven-earth yuan qi is extremely high, and her body can easily absorb the heaven-earth yuan qi. Other than the high purity of her true power, and the quick congealing and explosion, she has another advantage, and that is her unparalleled training speed. The white-robed Taoist smiled faintly. Her speed is indeed fast, much faster than Tianyi. However, in terms of cultivation speed, Yu Tianhao from the Middle Continent has already reached the peak true mystic rank before the age of 30, and is known as the #1 genius of the continent. Even the Scarlet Moon religion patriarch and sword Saint Yi Wuxia can't be compared to him at the same time. One has to know that the further one goes, the slower one's progress becomes. The purple-robed man didn't think so. The higher one's cultivation, the more bottlenecks there were, and the longer it took to break through. After the true human rank, even geniuses needed a few years to break through. After the true human rank, it was normal for it to take dozens of years. From the looks of it, Yu Tianhao's cultivation speed was at least 2 to 3 times that of Zhao Yufei. Yu Tianhao's grandfather and grandmother are both at the origin core realm, and there was even a void god realm king among them. The white-robed Taoist couldn't help but shake his head. He was the prodigy of heaven from the moment he was born, and received the best resources. Compared to him, Yufei has only been in the heavenly Yuan clan for a short time. Moreover, as my bloodline ability awakened, my compatibility with the world's origin energy continues to increase. My cultivation is also improving day by day. It's still increasing. The blurry purple-robed figure was finally surprised. Some of the top geniuses would increase their cultivation speed by leaps and bounds, reaching the true spirit realm in their teens. However, the early stages of advancement were too fast, and many of the later stages were insufficient. A single realm could be stagnant for decades, or even half a lifetime. I've asked around. Yufei has been cultivating in a place with sparse resources and primal qi since she was young. Her initial progress was slow and difficult, but everything has its pros and cons. There's also a huge advantage, and that is that their foundations are abnormally solid. Geniuses that come from these remote regions usually have very strong stamina. There was an indescribable wisdom in the seemingly turbid eyes of the white-robed old Taoist. The mysterious wisdom. Across the azure flower continent, the northern continent, the middle continent, the western continent, the eastern continent, and the extreme north, many powerful forces were preparing for the sacred True Dragon Gathering. There weren't many participants in the sacred True Dragon Gathering. The Canopy Great Country also only had 10 spots. The vast Canopy Great Country also only had 10 spots. Normal strong countries only had 2 spots. Far away in the cloud area, after the 13 clans surrendered, the 13 countries became part of the Iron Dragon Strong Country. Broken Moon Clan Sky Moon Mountain, within the Clan Master's Palace. This is a spiritual explosion pill that I spent a lot of effort to obtain. Although its effect is a bit weaker than the shedding spiritual pill, and has a lot of side effects, with the help of this pill, you still have a chance to reach the true spirit realm. A smile appeared on Hai Yin Master's handsome face. Bei Moi stood in front of him with hesitation and struggle. Although he was at the half-step true spirit realm, the chance of him reaching the true spirit realm was small unless he used outside help. However, the 13 countries were lacking in resources, and it was hard for a second shedding spiritual pill to appear. This spiritual explosion pill had a certain effect on reaching the true spirit realm, but had a lot of side effects. Eating this pill could cause one's dantian to explode, and even cause one's body to explode. Do you want to stay in the cloud area forever? Now that the cloud area has become part of the Iron Dragon Strong Country, as long as you reach the true spirit realm, you'll have a chance to enter the sacred True Dragon Gathering. Hai Yin Master gazed at Bei Moi, the most talented genius in the Broken Moon clan. A year ago, Bei Moi had surpassed Yanggan and became the head disciple. Sacred True Dragon Gathering. Bei Moi's fists were clenched and his body trembled. The Sacred True Dragon Gathering was the stage of the entire continent. Compared to it, the cloud area was just a small village. Only strong countries have a recommendation. If the Iron Dragon strong country doesn't rule here, you won't even have the chance to compete. Hai Yun Master handed the spiritual explosion pill to Bei Moi. From the disciple's eyes, it could be seen that he was moved and couldn't resist the temptation. Bei Moi had been a prodigy since he was young, and didn't want to fall behind. After the 13 Clan Alliance banquet, he trained even harder, and was one of the top geniuses in the 13 clans. One reason was because he had increased in leaps and bounds. On the other hand, many of the top geniuses such as Zhang Yuyue, Lin Tong, Zhao Feng, Ao Yuetian and Zhao Yufei had left the 13 countries. If Bei Moi could take a big step forward, he would be a top genius even in the Iron Dragon strong country. This spiritual explosion pill is extremely dangerous. Out of 10 people who take this pill, 5 will explode and die. The rest will break their meridians and become cripples. Bei Moi, whether you're a dragon or a snake will depend on your luck. Hai Yun Master inspected the direction Bei Moi left in, and his expression became cold. Broken Moon Clan. In another mountain, First Elder's Palace. Gon your cultivation has stopped at the peak 7 sky. This bottleneck might last you for several years, or even dozens of years. Instead of this, why don't you go to the outer disciples? First Elder said. Disciple will listen to Master's arrangements. Yangon said solemnly. He also found that it was normal for his cultivation to be stuck at a bottleneck for several years, or even 10 years. The sacred true dragon gathering will start in half a year, and with your strength, you definitely don't have the right to participate. However, you can observe the sacred true dragon gathering, and maybe it'll be beneficial. First Elder suggested. The Iron Dragon strong country only had 2 spots for the sacred true dragon gathering, and Yangon definitely had no hope. Disciple is willing. This is the pinnacle gathering of the continent, and even if Disciple has a slim chance of survival, I'll go and see it. Yangon understood that it was extremely dangerous to travel across the continent. Only those at the true spirit realm, or geniuses like Zhao Feng, Zhang Yuyue and Lin Tong had a high chance of success. Hihi. Although the Sky Cloud Forest is at the edge of the northern continent, and is relatively close to the middle continent, with your speed, you won't be able to reach it even in 1 or 2 years. You might even die on the way. First Elder laughed lightly. Yangon was dejected. Only those at the true spirit realm, with a good flying beast, would be able to reach the middle continent in half a year. I've already arranged for a good friend at the true spirit realm, from the Iron Dragon strong country, to take disciples to observe the sacred true dragon gathering. He'll take you there. A letter appeared in First Elder's hand along with an interspatial bracelet, which he handed over to First Disciple. Yangon was overjoyed as he took the item, and found that the interspatial bracelet was filled with primal crystal stones and spiritual pills. He was extremely grateful. Sending Yangon off with his eyes, First Elder's eyes became slightly moist. Goner, don't blame me for being selfish. The reason why First Elder took Yangon to observe the sacred true dragon gathering was because he had a sliver of hope in his heart. Northern Continent. One of the 3 great countries, Canopy Great Country, Thousand Water River, Iron Blood Religion Chapter. Zhao Feng opened his eyes from seclusion, and the faint blue coldness in his left eye became deeper. In his mind, the faint blue pond extended by 1 foot and 3 inches. The coldness on his face was stronger than before. After the second evolution of the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng's personality became colder and colder. With a sweep of his left eye, even experts at the true human rank would feel coldness and pressure. After reaching the true spirit realm, the power of Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye increased day by day. Right now, Zhao Feng was confident that most people at the true human rank would find it hard to block his eye bloodline, whether it be mental energy illusions or mental energy attacks. Apart from that, the source of true spirit within his body had completely consolidated, and was comparable to some early-stage true human ranks. It was even purer and purer. What no one knew was that Zhao Feng still had the Water Moon Pirate's source of true spirit sealed within him. The sealing technique came from the Heaven's Legacy inheritance, and existed in a special form. If I don't have enough true spirit, I can use the Water Moon Pirate's source of true spirit to increase my own strength. Zhao Feng felt the source of true spirit that far surpassed his own. This meant that Zhao Feng had two sources of true spirit within his body. This was his advantage. Under normal situations, the water moon pirate's source of true spirit could only be used to replenish Zhao Feng's source of true spirit. This source of true spirit's element had been changed by the water moon pirate and could be used by most bodies. However, Zhao Feng had comprehended the mystic flower treasure Bible, and with his God's spiritual eyes control, he could use this source of true spirit. After all, the water moon pirate's source of true spirit was condensed from the mystic flower treasure Bible. This source of true spirit will decrease the more I use it. I can't use it unless I'm in danger or at a critical moment. Zhao Feng retracted his God's spiritual eye. Shua, a slender and delicate figure flashed in. Chapter Leader. A letter personally written by the Deputy Patriarch. Dai Yi handed over a letter. Zhao Feng opened it, and a light flashed in his eyes. Head to the capital within a month to compete for the sacred true dragon gathering spots. The entire Canopy Great Country only has 10 spots? Chapter 326. The Canopy Great Country had 8 superpowers, and each one of them was stronger than a normal strong country. Apart from that, there were other small and large forces within the country. Families like the flooding Lake City's Lu family were close to a strong country. However, such a large country only had 10 people participating in the sacred true dragon gathering. The time given by the Deputy Patriarch was 1 month. Zhao Feng still had some time to prepare. Zhao Feng wasn't worried about the spots. What he really needed to prepare was the sacred true dragon gathering itself. The geniuses participating in the sacred true dragon gathering were all prodigies of the continent with unique bloodlines, skills, and abilities. Right now, Zhao Feng specialized in mental energy techniques and his movement skills. He didn't fear close combat. In close and mid-range combat, the water moon god Peach Fan was enough. For defensive support, the 3-flowered treasured lotus was the best. Right now, he only lacked a powerful long-range weapon. Ever since merging with the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng placed great importance on long-range weapons, as they could utilize the god's spiritual eye's speciality. Furthermore, in life and death battles, a powerful long-range weapon would add a lot to the battle. Half a month later, Taigon Master finally arrived at the Thousand Water chapter, and immediately left after receiving Zhao Feng's letter. 5 elemental piercing crystal, 5 elemental yuan crystal, meteorite metal, mystic ice crystal marrow. Taigon Master's eyes lit up as he sorted out the precious materials on Zhao Feng's side. According to Zhao Feng's thoughts, he could either create a new bow or upgrade the Luoho bow. Taigon Master felt the material of the Luoho bow, especially the blue ice lotus symbol on the bow, and felt slightly regretful. It's a pity that the ice energy of the ice soul mark isn't enough for you at your current level. Furthermore, the Luoho bow and arrows are both mortal grade weapons, and their potential has been squeezed out. Zhao Feng couldn't help but feel slightly regretful, and would probably have to give up on the Luoho bow. Of course, the 5 elemental piercing crystal and 5 elemental yuan crystal could even upgrade spiritual grade items, much less mortal grade items. However, this would be a waste. Taigon Master understood that Zhao Feng and the Luoho bow had worked together for many years and had great chemistry. He thought for a while before smiling. This Luoho bow can also be reforged to create a new Luoho bow and arrows. I'm confident that it will be even better than the original owners. Zhao Feng was naturally pleased. This was a plan that satisfied both sides. The Rahu bow reforged by the new furnace was definitely not the same as the original bow, but some of its characteristics and advantages would continue, or even surpass, the original bow. More importantly, Zhao Feng didn't need to use a completely unfamiliar long-range weapon. After that, Zhao Feng and Taigon Master started to calculate the cost. Apart from the 5 elemental piercing crystal and 5 elemental primal crystal, Zhao Feng also spent several million primal crystal stones to create a more perfect Luoho bow. Hehe, you sure have a lot of capital now. The price you've spent has already surpassed that of ordinary spirit middle-tier god weapons. Taigon Master was very satisfied with the items. Although it was a bit extravagant, it was perfect. Zhao Feng left the task to Taigon Master. He still needed time to go to the main headquarters of the Iron Blood Religion to fight for the spots of the sacred True Dragon gathering. Relax, I'll guarantee you a perfect long-range bow in half a month. Taigon Master promised. Zhao Feng left assured, and rode the three-flowered treasured lotus towards the direction of the capital with Dai Lan. With Zhao Feng's current cultivation, his chi of true spirit was pure, and the three-flowered treasured lotus flying ability was comparable to the true mystic rank. In less than 10 days, Zhao Feng returned to the main headquarters of the Iron Blood Religion. The headquarters wasn't far from the capital. As soon as he returned, Zhao Feng was summoned by the deputy patriarch. Not just him, but Dai Yi as well. Great Hall of the Iron Blood Religion. When Zhao Feng and Dai Yi entered, there were many upper echelons of the Iron Blood Religion, including protectors, elders, and chapter leaders. Apart from them, there was also a male and female standing in the middle of the hall with respectful expressions. Chapter leader Zhao has arrived. Zhao Feng's loud voice sounded as he entered the hall. Chapter leaders were already the upper echelons of the Iron Blood Religion, and many of them were at the true mystic rank. Therefore, when Zhao Feng entered, he was soon given a seat. There were several chapter leaders and elders who greeted Zhao Feng. The youngest chapter leader of the Iron Blood Religion made Zhao Feng receive a lot of attention. At the same time, the male and female standing in the hall looked towards Zhao Feng with envy and unwillingness. Dai Yi stood side by side with the man and woman. Zhao Feng could roughly guess what was going on. Jiang Sanfeng, Dong Shui, and Dai Yi are all geniuses and elites nurtured by the Iron Blood branch. Jiang Sanfeng is one of the 10 stars of the great country's younger generation. Someone soon introduced to Zhao Feng. Jiang Sanfeng wore a mystic gold battle robe and was in his 20s or 30s. His eyes were like two balls of light that gave others a burning feeling. This person's cultivation had reached the late stages of the true human rank, and he was the #1 genius of the Iron Blood Religion. Dong Shui was a beautiful girl with snow-white skin. She was in her 20s, but had reached the early stages of the true human rank. This was unimaginable in the cloud area. The last one was Dai Yi. Zhao Feng was more familiar with. Zhezhe Jiang Sanfeng's skill and aura seemed to have increased greatly. His scorching sun blazing fire scripture has probably reached the 6th level. There's only one other true mystic rank expert in the religion who's at this level. Jiang Sanfeng participated in the last sacred true dragon gathering 10 years ago and reached the top 300. But he wasn't able to enter the true dragon geniuses. Now that his skill and cultivation have increased, his chances of reaching the top 100 aren't small. The upper echelon of the Iron Blood Religion discussed in private. At this time, the deputy patriarch spoke. This time, my Iron Blood Religion will send chapter leader Zhao, Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi and Dong Shui to fight for the sacred true dragon gathering spots. Does anyone have any objections? Hearing this, the upper echelon all nodded their heads. These 4 were indeed the strongest geniuses of the Iron Blood Religion. The rest of the younger generation hadn't even reached the true spirit realm. This was especially so for Jiang Sanfeng and Zhao Feng, who stood out amongst their generation. The people to fight for the spots have been decided. However, the Iron Blood Religion has a predetermined spot every time. The white-haired regulations elder smiled faintly. The predetermined spot was to decide who would participate in the sacred true dragon gathering, and didn't need to go through the complicated battles. One had to know that the entire Canopy Great Country only had 10 spots. Below the 8 super forces, there were many other forces with a population of at least 100 times that of the 13 countries. Countless geniuses from the various forces stood out. How intense would the competition for the 10 spots be? Therefore, the 10 spots from the Great Country had to go through repeated battles. Not only the Canopy Great Country, but the other great countries and strong countries, as well as the 10 great clans, also had intense battles. At the same time or around the same time period, across the continent, there were people fighting for the few spots. For the sake of fairness, most of the factions would conduct rounds of competitions. The predetermined spot didn't need to go through rounds of battles, and would be decided as a temporary spot to participate in the sacred true dragon gathering. Only when the geniuses from the other geniuses were able to compete with each other would they make a move and accept the challenge. The problem now was, who would the Iron Blood religion give the predetermined spot to? The predetermined spot was a symbol of strength and glory. Most people believed that you had the strength to participate in the sacred true dragon gathering. Deputy Patriarch. In the past, the 10 stars from the great country were the predetermined spots. An elder warned. The 10 stars from the great country were more experienced and had participated in the sacred true dragon gathering before, such as Jiang Samfeng. Of course, there were also some newcomers who had defeated the older generation and taken their spots. My Iron Blood religion values strength and status. Zhao Feng beat Tian Yunji previously, and that shows his strength. At the same time, he's the youngest chapter leader of the Iron Blood religion, and his status is unquestionable. The Deputy Patriarch said. Hearing this, the upper echelon nodded their heads. In terms of strength, status, and methods, Zhao Feng was a top elite. More importantly, he was still so young and had limitless potential. However, some of the upper echelon didn't care. When Zhao Feng beat Tian Yunji, it was a battle between the two and was affected by many factors. The reason why he dominated the Thousand Water River region was because of Yin Sha, Chun Mingjin, and Dai Yi. It's just luck, and we can't say for sure. Jiang Samfeng has been in the 10 stars for many years and has participated in the last sacred true dragon gathering, so he's more experienced. The upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion discussed in low voices. Both Zhao Feng and Jiang Samfeng had their own supporters. This meant that the decision was in the Deputy Patriarch's hands. However, the blood-hair-colored Tianma didn't immediately speak. Jiang Samfeng stood in the middle of the hall. He had always been arrogant, but at this moment, he felt a little uneasy. He took in a deep breath, his eyes blazing with sharpness as he stared at Zhao Feng. Truthfully speaking, the youngest chapter leader of the Iron Blood religion gave him a lot of pressure. The other party's achievements made him famous across the great country. His status in the Iron Blood religion was also high. Furthermore, the Deputy Patriarch placed great importance on him. How about this? To be fair, let Jiang Samfeng spar with chapter leader Zhao. The white-haired regulations elder smiled faintly. She understood the Deputy Patriarch's meaning. If Tianma had made a decision, he could make the final decision under this situation. However, he didn't speak, which showed his intentions. Chapter leader Zhao, what do you think? The blood-hair-colored Tianma's mouth curled slightly. He also wanted to use this chance to see Zhao Feng's progress. Okay. Zhao Feng nodded his head and slowly stood up from the chapter leader's seat. He obviously wanted to become a pre-ordered and was too lazy to participate in the complicated battles. The upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion had expectant gazes. Boom! In the center of the Iron Blood Palace, there was a circular arena that was hundreds of meters wide, surrounded by layers of deep blue water. Shwa shwa! Zhao Feng and Jiang Samfeng jumped onto the arena. Zhao Feng's body sank and found that this arena had 10 times the gravity. All of his actions became slow and strenuous. If it was someone at the weaker ascended realm, they would probably instantly spit out blood. Chapter 327. Being on this stage, Zhao Feng realized that it contained a crystallization of intelligence, and the mechanisms within had exceeded his knowledge. Gravity-type array formations were profound and rare to begin with. They involved the nomological force fields of heaven and earth. Under 10 times the gravity, even those at the true spirit realm couldn't unleash their moves and power. It could even be said that one could only use 10% of their peak speed and power here. Chapter leader Zhao, this subordinate has long heard of your name. Today, I would like to ask for some pointers from you in front of the Iron Blood religion. Although Jiang Samfeng was arrogant, the religion had its rules, and he had to maintain his courtesy even if he wasn't convinced in his heart. Do whatever you want. Zhao Feng nodded his head casually. Jiang Samfeng snickered coldly in his heart. This brat who hadn't even grown his hair, yet really thought he was someone important. The tone he used was like he was talking to a junior. The respect he showed to Zhao Feng was only on the surface. He was determined to win the battle for the preliminaries. Sorry. Jiang Sanfeng's body glowed with a scarlet gold light. He was wearing a mystic gold battle robe, and before he even used his move, a scorching aura of true spirit condensed on the arena. Blazing fire, heart-burning palm. Jiang Sanfeng thrust out his palm, and layers of qi of true spirit shook the air and pushed towards Xiaofeng. Wang, the entire arena slightly shook. This was the core arena of the Iron Blood religion. If it was a normal area, even a small mountain would have been flattened. Xiaofeng felt like the air around him was filled with a scorching aura, as if it was boiling hot. This was especially so for Jiang Sanfeng's palm. The layers of vibrations turned into an invisible scorching power that struck towards the organs of the opponent. If normal true human rank opponents didn't know the inside story, they might have their organs destroyed by Jiang Sanfeng and die instantly. In the best case scenario, the scorching fire would enter their body. Jiang Sanfeng has improved quite a bit. His blazing sun-burning scripture has reached such a high level that normal true human rank experts probably won't even be able to take a few moves from him. In a few more years, he'll reach the peak of the true human rank and be a chapter leader. Many of the higher-ups of the Iron Blood religion admired Jiang Sanfeng. Swoosh swoosh. Xiaofeng's palm was covered in azure electric patterns. He patted the air, and layers of spiderweb-like electric chains charged forward. Boom! The two forces clashed together, creating a powerful shockwave that was enough to instantly kill anyone below the true spirit realm. Around the stage, the deep blue ripples were like a deep ocean, directly absorbing the power of the attacks from both sides, not moving an inch. The profound application of the water formation has an extremely strong absorption of energy. Xiaofeng's gaze swept across the formation around the stage. This formation was similar to Beimuo's dark water inheritance, but it was more profound. Whoosh! In the first round of confrontation, Xiaofeng dodged Jiang Sanfeng's raging fire heart-burning palm, which shook and burned his internal organs. Is it luck? Jiang Sanfeng's eyes twinkled with disbelief. His raging fire heart-burning palm, through the special superposition and vibration of the raging sun palm, could send an even more obscure and formless raging sun dark energy into the opponent's vital organs. It was like hitting a bull across a mountain, impossible to defend against. Xiaofeng's casual movement allowed him to dodge this fatal move. On the other hand, Jiang Sanfeng was slightly numbed by the power of lightning. At this moment, Xiaofeng seemed to be casually observing the movements of the array, which made Jiang Sanfeng even angrier. It seemed that Xiaofeng was more interested in the stage than his opponent. Raging sun burning heaven! Jiang Sanfeng roared, and with his next palm strike, countless sparks of raging flames whistled through the air, dyeing the entire sky above the stage red with raging flames. The water vapor in the air was instantly sucked dry. This palm carried a high temperature, the purest raging flames erupting. It was berserk and wreaked havoc. There was no way to dodge. Raging sun burning heaven is a large area attack. Let's see how you dodge it. Jiang Sanfeng's palm seemed to be filled with endless anger. Shwa shwa. The lightning under Xiaofeng's feet trembled, and a layer of lightning wrapped around his body. He was like a ghost as he dove into the flames that filled the sky. No, he was shuttling through the gaps between the flames. Shwa shwa shwa. In that instant, the ghostly figure was like a fish swimming through the dense coral in the deep sea. Outside the stage, the higher-ups of the Iron Blood religion had their eyes wide open. Amidst the flames, the youth stepped on lightning and passed through the gaps between the flames. He used the least amount of energy to dodge Jiang Sanfeng's terrifying attacks. Under 10 times the gravity, he's still able to display such speed and agility. He's merged the laws of lightning into his speed. No, there's also a ghostly and ethereal concept that allows him to come and go without a trace. The higher-ups of the Iron Blood religion were all knowledgeable. At this moment, Xiaofeng had the absolute advantage in terms of speed. How is this possible? He's easily dodged all of my attacks. Jiang Sanfeng's expression finally changed as his expression turned solemn. His blazing sun heart-burning palm had high temperature and explosive power, but it also consumed a lot of energy. Under this situation, even if Xiaofeng didn't attack, he would still be able to exhaust him to death. blazing sun heart-piercing spear. Jiang Sanfeng took a deep breath and condensed a flame spear in his palm. It whistled through the air and pierced towards Zhao Feng's chest. The speed of the blazing sun heart-piercing spear was extremely fast. Its explosive speed was even faster than long-range weapons. Zhao Feng felt a faint sense of danger and a burning sensation in his heart. Blade of lightning. Zhao Feng waved his hand, and a half-foot-long blade of lightning instantly slashed out. He raised his hand and cut the terrifying flame spear into two. This kid's attack, speed and reaction speed are all so strong. Jiang Sanfeng felt the pressure, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. The skill that he cultivated was compatible with the fire Yuan Qi, and specialized in offense. However, the opponent allowed him to attack, and he couldn't do anything. This was extremely frustrating for someone who specialized in offense. Shua. Zhao Feng's figure suddenly split into three. Three identical electric ghostly figures pounced at Jiang Sanfeng from three different directions at the same time. Their speed was too fast. Three ghostly figures instantly surrounded Jiang Sanfeng and launched their attacks on the arena that was merely 300 meters wide. All three are the same. Jiang Sanfeng's heart went cold. In a short amount of time, he wouldn't be able to tell which one was real and which one was fake. Blazing sun ring explosion. Jiang Sanfeng's chi of true spirit surged and released waves of flames that were enough to turn a palace into ashes. Jiang Sanfeng isn't his match. He's been suppressed from start to finish. The white-haired regulations elder shook her head and sighed. Zhao Feng didn't spend much effort, but forced Jiang Sanfeng to use a large amount of his chi of true spirit. The ancient robed protector faintly nodded his head. Pung pung pung. The attacks of the three figures instantly exploded, and the waves of flames shattered. Bam! A trace of blood leaked out from the corner of Jiang Sanfeng's mouth. Seeing two of the lightning phantoms disappear, he exclaimed in shock. Three phantoms, and all of them have offensive abilities. So, Zhao Feng had used the secret technique of the Yin Shadow Cloak, Shadow Doppelganger. When one's cultivation reached a certain level, the Shadow Doppelganger formed by the cloak could not only confuse the enemy, but also attack. This time, Zhao Feng was just testing the waters. Zhao Feng has many powerful treasures. Unfortunately, Jiang Sanfeng can't see through his eye bloodline. Blood hair-colored Tianma was slightly regretful. What he was really interested in was Zhao Feng's eye bloodline. Claw of lightning. Zhao Feng looked down from the sky and slashed out with his claw. A claw of lightning several yards long crackled as it slammed down like a bolt of lightning. Not good. Jiang Sanfeng's figure had just stabilized when he felt a destructive and domineering aura of lightning charge towards him. His blood and true force trembled and became numb. The power of the claw of lightning wasn't just terrifying. It also had the ability to lock onto targets. Jiang Sanfeng couldn't dodge at all, and could only barely block it with a palm. The claw of lightning leapt over like an owl catching a mouse. Pung! Jiang Sanfeng was smashed to the ground by the powerful claw, and his head and face were scorched black. What was even more amazing was that the claw of lightning didn't explode after pressing him to the ground, and instead instantly dissipated. The upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion let out a breath. If Jiang Sanfeng had allowed that claw attack to explode, it would have caused him to pay a terrible price. Luckily, Zhao Feng could use the claw of lightning freely. Thanks. Zhao Feng glanced at the numb Jiang Sanfeng on the ground and smiled before leaving. Lord Division Leader, your strength is formidable. This subordinate is ashamed of his inferiority. Jiang Sanfeng barely managed to climb up, and his face was filled with shame. At this moment, he finally understood that this youth had kidnapped Empress Qin, defeated Tian Yunji, and swept across the Thousand Water River area. He definitely had his own methods. What made him speechless was that this youth was at least a dozen years younger than him. The age limit of the sacred True Dragon Gathering was 50, so Jiang Sanfeng, who was in his 20s or 30s, could participate. Spectacular. The blood hair-colored Tianma clapped his hands in praise. Although he hadn't seen Zhao Feng's eye bloodline, the claw of lightning was extremely powerful, and not many under the true mystic rank could take it head-on. This Zhao Feng is only 16 or 17 years old, and already has such strength and status. His future potential is immeasurable. He might have a chance to reach the top 100 in this sacred true dragon gathering and reach the peak of the continent next time. The upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion exclaimed, and no longer had any objections. Zhao Feng won over the crowd and won the prelims. Many people were overjoyed, including Dong Shui, who was competing for the sacred true dragon gathering spot. Only Dai Yi wasn't surprised. She had always been by Zhao Feng's side and knew the chapter leader's true strength. What he had shown today was probably just the tip of the iceberg. After the prelims were decided, Zhao Feng, Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi and Dong Shui left together and prepared to leave for the capital in a couple of days. Chapter leader Zhao, I admire your strength. No wonder even Tian Yunji lost to you. In the current Canopy Great Country, only Prince Jin is your opponent, Jiang Sanfeng said solemnly. Prince Jin? He's very strong? Zhao Feng revealed an interested expression. This Prince Jin has reached the peak true human rank and is the #1 star of the great country. He reached the top 100 in the last sacred true dragon gathering. His bloodline is said to be the strongest in the great country. Chapter 328. Prince Jin was the crown prince of the Canopy Great Country and had a very strong imperial bloodline. The density of his bloodline was the highest in his generation. At the same time, his cultivation was at the peak true human rank, and he was ranked first amongst the rising stars. Among the younger generation, he has the highest cultivation and the strongest bloodline. Prince Jin is invincible among the rising stars of the country. Jiang Sanfeng's expression was solemn when he mentioned Prince Jin, and his eyes were filled with wariness. In reality, he thought that although Zhao Feng was strong, there was still a gap between him and Prince Jin. However, Zhao Feng's status was higher, and he didn't see through Zhao Feng's strength, so he couldn't make a conclusion. Zhao Feng nodded his head faintly and paid attention. Before leaving, Zhao Feng would stay at the Iron Blood religion headquarters for a couple of days, before heading to the capital with the deputy patriarch and company. On the same night, the deputy patriarch summoned Zhao Feng. Only Tianma and Zhao Feng were in the silent hall. Zhao Feng, your improvement and achievements have far surpassed my expectations. This sacred true dragon gathering is a great fortune for you, and if your luck isn't too bad, you should be able to reach the top 100. Tianma smiled faintly. Top 100? Zhao Feng paused for a moment. This was not the ranking he had hoped for. However, he knew that the top 100 was a dividing line. As long as one reached the top 100, they would be able to lead the continent's true dragon geniuses and be called true dragon geniuses. If the true dragon geniuses had enough luck, they would have the right to enter the inheritances. Zhao Feng, it's not that I want to discourage you, but the sacred true dragon gathering has gathered all the prodigies of the continent. For example, Yu Tianhao from the Middle Continent has reached the peak true mystic rank, and even challenged a true lord rank, and almost ended in a draw. Tantai Lanyue from the Eastern Continent has a beast tamer family, and has tamed 3 true mystic rank spiritual beasts. One of them is the horned earth dragon whose battle power is close to the true lord rank. This sacred true dragon gathering will surpass dozens of generations. The crimson-haired Tianma seemed to have noticed Zhao Feng's confidence, and was dissatisfied with the 100th place. Peak true mystic rank cultivation? Challenged the true lord rank. Zhao Feng was speechless. He didn't know if he was unlucky or lucky to be born in this era. There were so many geniuses and freaks. In previous sacred true dragon gatherings, the number of true mystic ranks was very small, and there were usually only a few at the early stages of the true mystic rank. And in this era, there were too many dazzling geniuses. When they collided, it was unknown whether they would be annihilated together, or whether they would produce a world-shaking brilliance. Of course, everything has its pros and cons. The more geniuses there are, the greater the luck of the true dragon. According to the news from the School of Divination, in this era, the chances of the heavenly secret inheritance connecting with the continent are much higher than before. Tianma sighed. Zhao Feng nodded his head. Don't worry, Patriarch. I'll do my best in this sacred true dragon gathering. After Tianma's guidance, he understood his position. Don't be discouraged. You're still young, and the age limit of the Sacred True Dragon Gathering is 50. Many competitors are twice your age, and many of them have participated in the last Sacred True Dragon Gathering. Tiamat nodded his head and smiled. From his point of view, if Zhao Feng could reach the top 100 and reach the top 50, he would be a peerless genius. After all, Zhao Feng was still young, and his cultivation was far from the peak geniuses of the continent. In this Sacred True Dragon Gathering, Zhao Feng most likely wouldn't be able to reach the top 20 in first place. However, in another 10 years, everything would be possible. The more geniuses there are, the better it'll attract more powerful inheritances. Zhao Feng calmed down. Sending off Zhao Feng's leaving figure with his eyes, Tiamat hesitated and seemed to struggle, as if he wanted to make a decision. Wait! Tiamat suddenly called out to him. Zhao Feng turned around curiously. He could also see that the deputy patriarch wanted to say something but didn't. Follow me. Tiamat glanced deeply at Zhao Feng before turning and walking into the depths of the hall. Zhao Feng followed without hesitation. He didn't know that this trip would change the course of his destiny. After passing through several corridors, the two entered a secret hall. There was a true mystic rank expert and several peak stage true human rank experts hiding near the hall. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng had the god's spiritual eye, he wouldn't be able to sense that there was a staircase in the corner of the secret hall. Walking down the staircase, Zhao Feng felt a heavy aura. His god's spiritual eye throbbed rapidly, as if it had sensed something and calmed down. The staircase led to an underground palace. You're here? And you brought a youth? A weak and old voice came from the underground chamber. Although the voice seemed weak, it entered the mental energy dimension. Zhao Feng's heart tightened. The other's mental energy aura was extremely profound and surpassed any true lord rank he had seen before. In the bedroom, there was a purple gold bed, and on it lay an old man with thick eyebrows and crimson hair. His skin was dry, and there was almost no aura leaking out. Brother Hong. Tiamat went up and greeted casually. The thick-browed, scarlet-haired old man cast a deep gaze over with a questioning look in his eyes. This one is Zhao Feng. Greetings, senior. Zhao Feng quickly bowed. For some reason, this thick-eyebrowed elder gave him a deep feeling, and he instinctively didn't inspect him with his god's spiritual eye. Even a dried-up ocean was countless times larger than a river. Brother Hong, he's the youngest chapter leader in the history of our religion. He swept across the Thousand-Water River, kidnapped Empress Qin, took the Sacred True Dragon Gathering prelims, and helped me refine the Wheel of Light and Darkness. Tiamat was proud of himself as he mentioned Zhao Feng's achievements. After all, Zhao Feng was a genius that he had raised. Such a young chapter leader, only 16 or 17 years old. If it wasn't for the fact that your eyes have always been accurate, it would be ridiculous for anyone else. The thick-eyebrowed scarlet-haired elder scanned over Zhao Feng and guessed his age. He looked again and was surprised. Back in the flooding lake city, the city lord Lu Jiotian had also seen that Zhao Feng's eye bloodline wasn't simple. This thick-eyebrowed elder also had the same eyesight, and was even more accurate than the flooding lake city lord and Tiamat. A very unique eye bloodline with a strong source of mental energy. The thick-eyebrowed elder's eyes twinkled as he stared at Zhao Feng, as if he was looking at a piece of jade. Zhao Feng's strength is unparalleled under the true mystic rank, but his eye bloodline hasn't reached the true sense realm yet, or else he would be able to reach the top 50 in this Sacred True Dragon Gathering. I hope Brother Hong can give him some pointers. Tiamat explained. Ihi, do you want me to give you pointers or do you want me to bleed? The red-haired old man with thick eyebrows said in annoyance. However, his eyes were still locked onto Zhao Feng. Suddenly, an invisible mental energy pressure passed through the physical world and engulfed Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's body shook as he felt a pressure he had never felt before. The thick-eyebrowed elder had only released a sliver of his aura, but it seemed to be able to crush an elephant. Zhao Feng's left eye flashed with a faint blue light. In the dimension of his left eye, the freezing pond started to ripple, and a weird coldness appeared in the mental energy dimension. The thick-eyebrowed elder's expression changed for the first time. When he probed deeper, he was actually corroded by an extremely cold and formless aura. and even his mind went cold. How long until the sacred true dragon gathering starts? The thick-eyebrowed elder asked. 4 to 5 months. Tiemo answered. Unfortunately, if you came a year or two earlier, the situation would be different. At that time, with our help, he'll be able to reach the top 10. The thick-eyebrowed elder said regretfully. He's only joined the Iron Blood religion for a few months, and helped me a lot. How about this? We'll just treat it as training. Zhao Feng's comprehension should be very strong, or else he wouldn't have such achievements at his age. Tiemo couldn't help but roll his eyes. Fine. The thick-eyebrowed elder sighed helplessly. Shua. He pondered for a moment, then flipped his hand, and a mysterious and translucent ice-blue crystal appeared in his palm. The instant the ice-blue crystal appeared, Zhao Feng felt a coldness enter his mental energy dimension, and his god's spiritual eye twitched. This is the ball of ice soul from the outside world, and its origin is extremely mysterious. The value of the ball itself isn't high, but it contains some knowledge of the ancient Tao of the soul. The thick-eyebrowed elder said unwillingly. Tiemo was slightly surprised that the thick-eyebrowed elder would give a precious item from the outside world to Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng received the ball of ice soul nervously. From the deputy patriarch's reaction, it wasn't hard to see how precious this item was. Shua. The thick-eyebrowed elder expressionlessly took out a tattered book with a few words written on it. Dark eye incomplete page. Tiemo's expression changed once again as he looked in disbelief at the thick-eyebrowed elder. This, senior you. Zhao Feng took the ball of ice soul and the dark eye incomplete page uneasily. This was the first time he had met this thick-eyebrowed elder, and it was because of the deputy patriarch. As the saying goes, one shouldn't receive a reward without doing anything. He felt uneasy accepting such a huge favor from someone else. Seeing Zhao Feng's expression, the thick-eyebrowed elder smiled faintly. Everything will depend on your fortune. If you want to repay me, become famous in the sacred true dragon gathering, and try to reach the top 20. If you can help this old man obtain the elixir of life, decaying life rejuvenation pill, and other similar life-prolonging items, this old man will be endlessly grateful. This junior will try his best. Under the wave of the elder's hand, Zhao Feng bowed and left, sending off Zhao Feng's figure with their eyes. Only Tiemo and the elder were left in the palace. Big brother, you gave the ball of ice soul to him? The previous owner of this item seems to be a void god realm king? That dark eye incomplete page is a forbidden technique that even you can't comprehend. How did he succeed? Tiemo was puzzled. The reason why he brought Zhao Feng here was because he hoped that Brother Hong could give Zhao Feng some pointers. But even Tiemo's heart ached at this kind of bleeding. The value of the ball of ice soul itself isn't high, but it contains some incomplete essence of the Tao of the soul. It should be something that the void god realm king carried with him when he was alive. I don't cultivate the Tao of the soul, so this item is useless to me. The most important thing is that when Zhao Feng opened his eye bloodline, the ball had a weird reaction. This means that they are fated. Chapter 329. When Zhao Feng opened his eye bloodline, the ball had a weird reaction. It seems like it's fated. The scarlet-haired elder sighed. After all, the ball of ice soul was an item that belonged to a void god realm king, and the knowledge contained within it was priceless. However, this item had been with him for many years and had no reaction. It only sensed something when Zhao Feng appeared. From this, one could see that he wasn't fated with this item. Furthermore, you've underestimated the power and potential of Zhao Feng's eye bloodline. Even my spiritual sense can't see through it. Adding on the fact that he was fated with the ball of ice soul, his fortune is immeasurable. So, I decided to help him to the end, and even gave him the Dark Eye Incomplete volume. After all, those with an eye bloodline and strong mental energy have a higher chance of cultivating the Dark Eye Incomplete page. The scarlet-haired elder explained. Tiemo nodded his head. Neither the ball of ice soul, nor the Dark Eye Incomplete page had much use for the scarlet-haired elder and Tiemo. On the other hand, it was Zhao Feng who sensed the ball of ice soul. His eye bloodline and mental energy source met the requirements to cultivate the Dark Eye Incomplete page. Everything will depend on his fortune. The scarlet-haired elder slowly closed his eyes and his aura, including his life aura, quickly disappeared. On the other side, Zhao Feng took the ball of ice soul and the dark eye incomplete page and walked out of the palace. He murmured in his heart, "What kind of person is this scarlet-haired elder for the deputy patriarch to call him big brother? Could it be?" Zhao Feng's heart suddenly moved. In the hearts of the Iron Blood religion, the highest decision-maker was the deputy patriarch, Tianmo. However, Tianmo's position had the word deputy. The patriarch of the Iron Blood religion hadn't appeared in the last 100 years. Apparently, the patriarch of the Iron Blood religion had participated in the extermination of the Scarlet Moon demonic religion several hundred years ago, and was someone from the same generation as the patriarch. However, due to some changes, the patriarch of the Iron Blood religion fell into a deep sleep. Back at his residence, holding the ice soul ball in his palm, he felt a strange chill. However, in essence, this kind of coldness did not exist on the physical plane. Instead, it spread and transmitted in the mental world. It was a kind of invisible power similar to sword intent and saber intent. When he first saw this item, Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye had sensed something. Zhao Feng opened his God's spiritual eye and slowly merged his senses into the ball of ice soul. For some reason, the ice-cold power of nothingness gave Zhao Feng a sense of familiarity. The faint blue chilling pond in the dimension of his left eye started to ripple, and a strange coldness started to appear in the mental energy dimension. Buzz! At the core of the ball of ice soul, a transparent and illusory blue ice core shone. The blue ice core couldn't be seen with the naked eye. It only existed on the mental plane. Zhao Feng could see it with his God's spiritual eye. As he came in contact with it, Zhao Feng felt some vague and incomplete information within the blue ice core, which contained some ancient knowledge and intent. Zhao Feng didn't understand most of this information, but some of the intents were related to mental energy techniques, and they were even more ancient. This is the ancient Tao of the soul? It's even deeper and more distant than mental energy techniques. Zhao Feng started to think, and many questions appeared in his mind. He was sure of one thing, which was that the knowledge contained within the ball of ice soul was thousands of times more profound than any mental energy techniques that he had come into contact with before. Compared to this, the heart-controlling technique that he had learnt before wasn't even worth mentioning. Even the lightning inheritance was far from being able to compare to the essence and profoundness contained in this information. The only regret was that these things were incomplete and fragmented. Zhao Feng's mind was immersed within, completely forgetting himself. Any of the profoundness contained within the ball of ice soul was something that a normal person wouldn't be able to understand in their entire life. If it wasn't for Zhao Feng having the foundation of mental energy techniques, the God's spiritual eye's powerful comprehension and learning ability, as well as his powerful source of mental energy, he wouldn't have been able to touch it. In the blink of an eye, 2 to 3 days passed. The profoundness within the ball of ice soul was filtered by Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye and categorized. The first level ice soul basics. The second level ice soul power. The second level heart of ice soul. Of course, the information on the third level was incomplete. This was even with Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye's powerful calculation ability. He had used 2 to 3 days to reach this step. Currently, I can only comprehend the contents of the ice soul basics. Zhao Feng thought in his heart. Even the first level of the ice soul basics had toppled Zhao Feng's understanding of mental energy techniques and traditional cultivation techniques. Some information had toppled Zhao Feng's view of the world. For example, in the ice soul basics, there was a shaman king recorded in the inheritance of the soul. The shaman king's body wasn't strong, and was even relatively weak. However, the soul of a shaman king was almost immortal. To it, the body was just a carrier, and it didn't care. Even if the enemy killed the body, the shaman king could instantly change to another carrier. A shaman king could even have many carriers, and it wasn't rare for them to come back from the dead. The body is the carrier of life, and the soul is the core of all living beings. If the body is destroyed, the soul remains, but if the soul is destroyed, everything will disappear. Zhao Feng nodded his head as he comprehended. To humans who were the spirits of all living beings, the consciousness was the core, the soul. Chapter leader, we're about to leave for the capital. Early in the morning, a voice interrupted Zhao Feng's comprehension. Zhao Feng opened his eyes. His face was slightly tired, but it was covered by excitement. Time passed too quickly as he comprehended. Outside the hall, Dai Yi was waiting with a smile. Zhao Feng nodded his head, and only left a sliver of his consciousness outside. The majority of his attention was focused on comprehending. Great Hall of the Iron Blood Religion. Zhao Feng, Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi, and Dong Shui had all gathered. The Golden Spear Blood Dragon sedan descended from the sky, along with the ancient robed protector, and 2 other upper echelon members. Deputy Patriarch, everyone's here. Dai Yi said with a smile. Let's go. Tianma faintly nodded his head from within the Golden Spear Blood Dragon sedan. The capital wasn't far from the main headquarters of the Iron Blood Religion, and they arrived at the capital in less than half a day. Entering the capital once again, Zhao Feng sighed. Many people from the Iron Blood Religion looked at the blue-haired chapter leader. Not long ago, this youth had kidnapped Empress Qin in front of everyone, shaking the country and ruining the Imperial's authority. Zhao Feng was expressionless and didn't say a word the entire way. Most of his attention was focused on comprehending the basics of Ice Soul. He didn't let go of a single second. He followed the group mechanically and would only respond with "in" or "oh" to whatever the people around him said. Don't disturb him. The Deputy Patriarch smiled faintly and signaled the other members of the Iron Blood Religion. Within the group of the Iron Blood Religion, a blue-haired youth almost had his eyes closed as he walked forward. For Zhao Feng, who was in the middle of comprehension, time flew by. He didn't know what was happening in the outside world. The Emperor has arrived. Empress Qin has arrived. The head of the Lu family has arrived. The Flooding Lake City Lord has arrived. Unknowingly, when Zhao Feng was in a noisy environment, he sat on a seat in a daze. Who's this blue-haired brat? He's been dozing off while sitting on the seat of the pre-ordered? This is ridiculous. Blue hair and blue eyes. He's the representative of the Iron Blood Religion. He's that Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng? It's the thief that held Empress Qin hostage? Everyone, let's take him down. Chaos broke out below. In the Canopy capital, there was a large empty space with many seats around it. The most eastern side was the Imperials. The Canopy Great Country Emperor, Empress Qin, and other upper echelons were all present. Closer to them were the Iron Blood Religion, Lu family, Qin Sword clan, and other large forces. In the middle of the empty space were 8 arenas, each of them 1 mile wide. At the same time, in the middle of the 8 arenas was a high platform. On the high platform were 10 seats that looked down. 10 youths sat on these 10 seats, representing the 10 pre-ordered spots of the Canopy Great Country. As the pre-ordered spots, they were chosen to participate in the sacred True Dragon Gathering, and didn't need to participate in the complicated battles. The 10 seats were arranged in order. The first seat was a golden-robed brown-haired youth. His body was bulky and even slightly fat. His eyes flashed with a golden light, and his breath gave off the pressure of a mountain. Prince Jin, first of the 10 stars. The second seat was occupied by a young man in flowery clothes. His hair was extremely disheveled, and his arms were crossed in front of his chest. Wang Xiaoguai, second of the 10 stars, and came from the Wind Cloud sect of the 3 clans. The third seat was occupied by a young man in a battle robe. He was extraordinarily handsome, and carried an ancient saber on his back. His eyes occasionally flickered with a mystical glow, as if an invisible saber was slashing through the air, causing a bone-piercing chill. Tian Yunji, third of the 10 stars. The fourth seat. A blue-haired youth had his eyes closed, as if he was taking a nap. At this point in time, the target of many people's discussion was this blue-haired youth. Zhao Feng, the Iron Blood chapter leader, the rising prodigy of the great country. So many people. Zhao Feng opened his eyes and exited his comprehension, his face tinged with exhaustion. The 10 pre-ordered spots were in the middle of the 8 arenas. Around the arenas were many people from the great country. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned the area. It was pitch black. The 8 arenas were about to start sparring. When Zhao Feng opened his eyes, a wave of booing came from the arena, and attracted the gazes of many people. On the imperial side, the canopy great country's emperor and company stared at Zhao Feng. Empress Qin had a dignified and noble bearing, and she had the aura of a motherly figure. At the same time, the experts from the Flooding Lake City, the main Tian family, and the Lu family all looked at him with hostility. This was especially so for the Flooding Lake City. The Flooding Lake City lord's pupils contracted as he coldly glanced at Zhao Feng. Lu Qinxin had a calm expression, as she sat there silently like an orchid in a painting. Even Zhao Feng felt cold and uncomfortable. "Zhao Feng, we meet again." A firm and unyielding voice suddenly rang out. It was Tian Yunji. He sat in the third seat next to Zhao Feng. This is the youngest chapter leader of the Iron Blood chapter?" Prince Jin laughed as coldness flashed in his eyes as he inspected Zhao Feng. At this point in time, the moment Zhao Feng woke up, he attracted many unfriendly gazes. Apart from that, the 10 stars and the geniuses of the great country all looked at this youth that wasn't in his best condition. Chapter 330. The instant he woke up, Zhao Feng realized that he had made so many enemies in just a year's time in the canopy great country. The forces he had offended included the Imperials, the Flooding Lake Lu family, the Tian and Yun families. There was no need to talk about the Imperials. Zhao Feng had kidnapped Empress Qin and damaged the Imperial's reputation. There were even rumors that he had humiliated Empress Qin. The emperor of the canopy great country looked at Zhao Feng as if he wanted to devour his flesh. Secondly, the Flooding Lake Lu family. Zhao Feng's escape from the marriage caused the Flooding Lake City Lord to break through to the true Lord rank in anger. Furthermore, both the Flooding Lake Lu family and Empress Qin belonged to the Lu family. Zhao Feng had offended the Lu family because of this. Offending the Tian and Yun families was a recent matter. Zhao Feng had almost destroyed the #1 genius of the Tian family, Tian Yunji. Not only that, but when he became the Thousand Water Division Master, he almost destroyed the Yin family's branch family and forced them to sign an unfair blood contract. One could imagine how many people and forces one had to offend in order to become famous. However, what surprised Zhao Feng the most was Tian Yunji. If he remembered correctly, Zhao Feng's Water Moon God Peach fan contained a mental energy attack that crushed the opponent's blade intent. Both blade intent and mental energy attacks were the power of the void. When the two clashed, whoever was stronger and had more resources would emerge victorious. It was obvious that Zhao Feng's source of mental energy was strong, and his mental energy attacks were stronger with the help of the Water Moon God Peach fan. "Tian Yunji, I didn't think that you'd be able to form a new blade intent that's even sharper and stronger than before." Zhao Feng's left eye scanned over Tian Yunji and saw through the latter's strength. Tian Yunji's mind went cold for some reason. The instant that icy blue left eye swept over, the saber intent that he had formed after breaking through seemed to be frozen by an invisible coldness, making it hard for him to move. What's going on? Tian Yunji couldn't help but take a deep breath. Compared to a month or two ago, Zhao Feng's current eye bloodline put too much pressure on him. With just a gaze, he almost condensed the embryonic form of his saber intent. This is too terrifying. What happened to Zhao Feng's eye bloodline? Did he hide his strength before? Zhao Feng glanced at him, then closed his eyes and continued to comprehend the contents of the first level of the Ball of Ice Soul Basics. The Ball of Ice Soul contained a deeper application of the spiritual domain, and it brought him to the ancient world of Soul Dao. Before he knew it, Zhao Feng's mastery of psychic secret techniques had reached a whole new level. Ever since he went into hibernation and his left eye mutated, Zhao Feng felt that his God's spiritual eye had a qualitative leap, but he didn't know how to dig out its potential. The original secret spirit technique was far from enough. And at this moment, after continuously comprehending the Ball of Ice Soul, Zhao Feng naturally used the hidden power of the God's spiritual eye. He even suspected that when he had the God's spiritual eye, Azure Eye, he hadn't dug out its true power yet. In the middle of the field on the high platform, the 10 preliminaries were recognized as the 10 strongest geniuses in the country. They would be able to overlook the competition in the 8 arenas from high above. The 4th-ranked youth had once again dozed off and didn't care about the outside world. This Zhao Feng is so arrogant. Prince Jin's eyes squinted and a cold golden light flashed. When Zhao Feng had woken up, he had greeted him and wanted to test him, but the other didn't even pay attention to him. He was the prince of the Imperials, the #1 genius of the country, and had the strongest bloodline. When had he ever received such treatment? Of course, this couldn't all be blamed on Zhao Feng. Firstly, he didn't know Prince Jin, and secondly, Prince Jin wasn't the only one that greeted him. More importantly, Zhao Feng was focused on comprehending the ball of ice soul, and was like a sponge that quickly absorbed water. He had only exchanged a glance with Tian Yunji before falling back into comprehension. At this moment, the duels on the 8 arenas were being carried out in an orderly manner in the capital's important grounds. Apart from the 10 stars, there were also many geniuses that had come to compete for the sacred True Dragon gathering. Most of the participants were at the half-step True Spirit realm, and a small amount were at the True Spirit realm and 7th sky rank. However, with Prince Jin as the leader, the 10 preliminaries stood at the peak of the great country's younger generation. The following battles didn't enter their eyes. Zhao Feng's action of dozing off was extremely wise. As the battles progressed, shouts and cheers could be heard from outside. Jiang Sanfeng is indeed worthy of being ranked 4th among the 10 stars. He hasn't lost a single time. That Lu Qinxin is also stunning. Not only is she beautiful, her strength is stunning as well. The 10 preliminaries were also discussing with each other. There were only 2 or 3 geniuses that could enter their eyes. Amongst them, Jiang Sanfeng and Lu Qinxin had the fiercest momentum and had both maintained a 10-match winning streak. Everyone was well aware of Jiang Sanfeng's battle prowess and cultivation technique. The ardent sun-blazing flame scripture was unyielding and fierce, defeating all opponents with an unstoppable momentum. Most geniuses that met Jiang Sanfeng would admit defeat. Jiang Sanfeng's so strong. I really don't understand why the Iron Blood religion would let a brat take his spot. The Iron Blood religion has a strict hierarchy and Zhao Feng is a chapter leader. Even Jiang Sanfeng would have to bow to him. The geniuses from the various forces discussed this suspicious point. Jiang Sanfeng's battle power had exceeded their expectations, and no one was a match for him. Many people were puzzled that such a genius wasn't part of the preliminaries. However, the upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion kept silent and knew the truth. The sparring between Zhao Feng and Jiang Sanfeng had only happened a few days ago, and the news hadn't spread yet. Apart from that, Lu Qinxin's performance could be said to be stunning, and was a black horse. She wore a snow-white veil, and her expression was tranquil, elegant and tranquil. She was like a celestial maiden from a painting, and every single move she made carried a melodious and beautiful rhythm. Lu Qinxin's style this time was completely different from when she fought in the flooding lake city. Inheritance of the Tao of music. Such exquisite moves. I can almost hear the call of the wind and the song of the birds. A goddess in white from the Qin Sword Palace closed her eyes with an expression of admiration. This scene shocked the upper echelon of the Qin Sword Palace. Goddess Qin's mastery of the Tao of music is one of the 3 prodigies in the great country, and is on par with Empress Qin. Is this junior's mastery of the Tao of music so profound? That's right. Fusing the music Tao's chord sounds and pulse into his martial arts. Even his expressions and movements are pleasing to the eye, elegant and noble, without a trace of vulgarity. I feel that this girl's style is the exact opposite of Empress Qin's, but there's a connection between them. There were some knowledgeable people present. Lu Qinxin was calm and elegant. It was as if she was playing a beautiful piece of ancient music, causing people to be intoxicated and happy. Lady Lu, you're the goddess in my heart. Although you lost, you resonated with me. A white-robed young master, who had reached the true human rank, said reluctantly. Lu Qinxin smiled elegantly and floated away after returning the greeting. During the competition, her eyes would only linger on 2 people. One was Empress Qin, and the other was Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng was sleeping and didn't pay attention to her. On the other hand, Empress Qin's smile could topple cities, and she would occasionally inspect Lu Qinxin. The gazes of the two clashed in the air, as if they were having an invisible battle. 2 days later, the top 10 were decided. Amongst them, Lu Qinxin and Jiang Samfeng had won all their matches, but they didn't face each other. Under normal situations, Qinxin should have a 50 to 60% chance of winning against Jiang Samfeng. Furthermore, Qinxin has a hidden bloodline, as well as killing moves of the Tao of Life and Tao of Qin. The flooding Lake City Lord nodded his head. However, when his gaze landed on Zhao Feng, his eyebrows furrowed. He had a certain level of understanding towards the Iron Blood religion. The Iron Blood religion valued strength and status. If Zhao Feng's status alone wasn't enough to convince everyone, he wouldn't be able to replace Jiang Sanfeng. Furthermore, the upper echelon's reactions were extremely calm. Could it be that Zhao Feng didn't win against Tian Yunji because of the Water Moon Pirate's underhanded methods? This Jiang Samfeng was also defeated by him? The flooding Lake City Lord was half happy and half worried. Although he hated Zhao Feng, he still hoped for such a talented son-in-law in the depths of his heart. However, Zhao Feng had become the chapter leader of the Iron Blood religion and was slowly walking on the opposite side of the Lu Main family. Next, we'll welcome the top 10 and the top 10 stars of the preliminaries. A loud and clear voice resounded throughout the arena. The crowd broke out into chaos. On the high stage, Prince Jin and the other stars of the preliminaries all stood up with smiles on their faces. This was the most crucial moment. However, among the 10 pre-selected candidates, there was a blue-haired youth who was still dozing off in his original position. Everyone else had stood up, but he was the only one sitting. The true mystic rank elder, hosting the competition, furrowed his eyebrows. He had never seen such a situation before. Soon, the top 10 with Jiang Sanfeng, Lu Qinxin and company standing below the high stage. The 10 of you, each of you has a maximum of 2 chances to challenge. If you fail twice, you'll lose the chance to enter the sacred True Dragon gathering. The true mystic rank elder said. Understood. Many of the top 10 were excited and nervous. This was the last crucial moment. Challenging the 10 stars of the older generation would not only make them famous, they would also be able to participate in the sacred True Dragon gathering. Who goes first? The true mystic rank elder said. I'll go first. A white-robed young master walked out with a cold voice. The young master of the Main Bai family by Jiangqing. Haha, this young master Bai is a romantic. In this competition, he is infatuated with the beauty of Lu Qinxin's Tao of music. A wave of laughter came from below the stage. Most of them were very friendly. After all, this young master of the Bai family was handsome and talented. Who didn't love beauty? Bai Jiangqing stood below the high stage and scanned Prince Jin, Wang Xiaoguai, Tian Yunji and the other geniuses. As for the first and second place, he had no hope at all. Prince Jin's bloodline was the strongest, and he hadn't lost a single time. The second Wang Xiaoguai was a monster who fought crazily with no regard for his life. Even Tian Yunji was suppressed by him. The third Tian Yunji had comprehended the basic form of blade intent, and his battle power was extremely strong. The fourth was the sleeping blue-haired youth. His fame was even greater. He had kidnapped the Qin king, and was said to be the successor of the Water Moon Pirate. Chapter 331. Bai Jiangqing was at the true human rank, and was ranked 6th in the top 10 of the Great Country competition. Such an achievement had undoubtedly trampled on the millions of geniuses in the Great Xia Empire, gathering countless halos and luck on him. However, at this moment, facing the top 10 geniuses of the same generation, his expression was solemn, and he didn't dare underestimate them at all. He didn't have the confidence to win against any one of the 10 geniuses on the stage, especially Prince Jin and company. Even if he could win against one of them, it would probably be a tough battle. Bai Jiangqing's eyes scanned around and landed on the 4th spot, the napping blue-haired youth. You're the 4th. Bai Jiangqing took a deep breath. His eyes were sharp as he made his decision. Choosing Zhao Feng was the result of his careful consideration. There were 2 reasons. Firstly, only Zhao Feng wasn't one of the 10 stars of the Great Country. Although Zhao Feng was famous, Most of it was just rumors. It was said that he had relied on the methods of the Water Moon Pirate. This meant that Zhao Feng's true strength might not live up to his name. Secondly, it was because of Lu Qinxin. In the sparring before, Bai Jiangqing had completely fallen for Lu Qinxin. That kind of beauty was pleasing to the eye, and didn't have a trace of vulgarity. Coincidentally, Zhao Feng was Lu Qinxin's fiancé, and because he ran away, he was wanted by the flooding lake city. What an unromantic brat. How dare you leave such a perfect girl behind? Wait for me to take out my trump card, and defeat you at all costs to win the beauty's favor. At that time, with my identity as the young master of the Bai family, I'll definitely be able to propose to the flooding lake city. Bai Jiangqing was filled with jealousy and hatred towards Zhao Feng, but at the same time he felt lucky. Lucky that Zhao Feng didn't know how to flirt, and left him a chance. What made him angry and jealous was that the other had abandoned such a perfect girl. Bai Jiangqing decided that no matter what price he had to pay, he would defeat Zhao Feng. He took a deep breath and looked to the side. A fairy-like figure dressed in a snow-white veil, with a quiet and elegant face, noble and refined, pleasing to the eye. However, as soon as Bai Jiangqing's words finished, the scene became awkward. The fourth is you. There was no response. There was no movement. In the fourth seat, Zhao Feng sat on the same spot with his eyes closed, as if he was taking a nap. He had no idea where he was sitting, and he had no idea what was going on outside. Zhao Feng, as one of the top 10, Bai Jiangqing has the qualifications to challenge you. If you don't fight, it's the same as forfeiting. The true mystic rank judge's voice was like thunder. Only when the name Zhao Feng was mentioned did the blue-haired youth slowly open his eyes with a blank expression. Below the high platform, Lu Qinxin, Jiang Sanfeng, and the rest of the top 10 were all present. Among them, Lu Qinxin pursed her lips and smiled. She was like a lotus after the rain, elegant and quiet. Jiang Sanfeng couldn't help but say, "Zhao Feng, come out and fight." Both he and Zhao Feng came from the Iron Blood religion, and his face turned red. "Despicable brat, how dare you look down on me?" Bai Jiangqing, who had stepped out of the formation, was furious. His handsome face was flushed red, and his fists were clenched tightly. "Oh!" Zhao Feng nodded his head in understanding and landed on the ground, leaving a trail of lotuses behind him. This movement skill is indeed the inheritance of the Water Moon Pirate. This pervert dares to compete for the sacred true dragon gathering spot in the capital. Many of the upper echelon present revealed enraged expressions. Some of the older generation experts had even fought with the Water Moon Pirate before, and had suffered a loss. The Imperials were filled with killing intent and anger. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng came from the Iron Blood religion, there would probably be a group of experts flying over to punish the pervert. On the arena, Zhao Feng and Bai Jiangqing faced each other. The former was expressionless, and seemed to be thinking. Although he was standing on the arena, part of Zhao Feng's attention was still on the ball of Ice Soul. Now that the first level of the foundation of Ice Soul had barely entered the door, Zhao Feng's comprehension of mental energy had reached a whole new level. Green Flame Azure Sky. Bai Jiangqing's hands crossed as his eyes flashed with a green light, and his chi of true spirit started to burn. His entire body shone with a brilliant green light, and there were even green flames that soared to a height of 3 meters. It was a shocking sight. What was even more incredible was that his chi of true spirit had increased dramatically and broke through the barrier of cultivation. Green Flame Azure Sky. The secret arts of the main branch of the Bai family could only be executed with a specific bloodline power. This bloodline secret technique can increase one's connection with the Heaven-Earth Yuan Qi and multiply one's battle power. The spectating experts all over the great country saw some clues. Not good. One needs to be at the late stages of the true human rank in order to use the Green Flame Azure Sky, or else their foundation will be damaged, and their bloodline power will be greatly damaged. The expressions of those from the main Bai family changed dramatically. In a short breath, Bai Jiangqing's battle power had risen to Jiang Sanfeng's level. Pa! The green light in Bai Jiangqing's eyes brightened, and the green light around him howled as he charged towards Zhao Feng. At this point in time, the green flame covered the area, and the terrifying aura of true spirit was enough to make those at the peak true human rank tremble. The green flame and green light was about to engulf the blue-haired youth's figure. Hurry up and counterattack. Jiang Samfeng and Dai Ye's hearts were pounding. There was no reaction from Zhao Feng's chi of true spirit, as if he didn't plan on fighting back. Bastard Dai! Bai Jiangqing had a smug expression as a cold light flashed through his eyes. However, in that instant, Zhao Feng's left eye focused on him for the first time. The deep left eye was like a bottomless pond, and a bone-chilling coldness spread out. Bai Jiangqing's entire body started to tremble. Even his thoughts seemed to be frozen, and his movements became dozens of times slower. This coldness didn't exist in the physical dimension, but in the mental energy soul. Bai Jiangqing's eyes were filled with shock as his body started to tremble. It was as if his body had been sealed in ice. In the eyes of the crowd, his actions were like a slow-motion movie. In the end, the emotions in his eyes seemed to be frozen and unchanging. The freezing of his mental energy made him lose control of his body, true force and bloodline. He was like a baby that stumbled forward. Bam! He was kicked out of the arena by a blue-haired figure. Plop! The instant Bai Jiangqing fell to the ground, the coldness in his body only half disappeared. A trace of blood leaked from the corner of his mouth, and he could feel the obvious warmth. How is this possible? What dirty method did you use? Bai Jiangqing was speechless. He had used all his strength and bloodline power to use the green flame sky secret technique, but it was as if he had been hit by an evil technique. He couldn't resist at all, and was sent flying with a kick. Hua! The crowd broke out into chaos. Most people didn't understand what had happened. The true time to decide victory or defeat was only that half a breath of time. What's going on? Why did Bai Jiangqing become stupid at the critical moment? What evil technique did that brat use? Evil technique? It must be a dirty technique left behind by the water moon pirate, such as the soft fragrance poison, to make the opponent lose the ability to fight. Countless discussions came from the arena, which then turned into condemnation. These condemnations were mostly from the younger generation. The true upper echelon members of the country all had solemn expressions. Zhao Feng didn't bother to explain, and returned to his original position, closing his eyes and continuing to comprehend. As expected, the mutated left eye has the element of ice and water, leaning towards coldine. Through the principles of the ball of ice soul, the power of the eye bloodline can freeze and damage the opponent's consciousness. Zhao Feng nodded his head in his heart. I'll call this move Eye of Ice Soul. It's different from the Eye of Illusion from before. From this moment onwards, Zhao Feng's eye bloodline abilities were finally classified by the system. Eye of Ice Soul was an ability that he had unearthed from cultivating the ball of ice soul over the past few days. After the second evolution of the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng only had an eye bloodline, but he didn't have the ability to develop it. And the ball of ice soul was the fortune that could change Zhao Feng's fate. Below the arena, Bai Jiangqing's defeat still affected his body on a mental energy level, and his teeth were still chattering. Furthermore, his movements and reactions had become slow. This brat's comprehension and eye bloodline are terrifying. He managed to comprehend the ancient Tao of the soul within the ball of ice soul so quickly. The deputy patriarch of the Iron Blood religion was overjoyed. On the other hand, the upper echelon members of the Imperials, Cloud Race, Bai family, and other forces all had solemn and surprised expressions. With their level, they could obviously see that Zhao Feng's one-move victory wasn't some dirty trick, but a high-level eye bloodline secret technique. However, many of the geniuses present didn't see the truth and scoffed at Zhao Feng. This bastard Zhao Feng is using despicable methods in front of everyone. Bai Jiangqing's defeat was too fake. Did the two discuss this beforehand? Some people even suspected that Bai Jiangqing was just putting on a show to show off his might to Zhao Feng. This disturbance soon passed. Bai Jiangqing didn't dare to continue challenging in a short amount of time, and left one chance for the elders of his family to heal. Immediately after, Jiang Samfeng challenged the 6th ranked of the 10 stars, and won in one battle. After all, he was previously ranked 4th among the 10 stars. The other top 10 geniuses all challenged him, but most of them ended in failure. Zhao Feng still had his eyes closed and didn't care about the outside world. Through the practice just now, his understanding of his eye bloodline had increased. The Eye of Illusion in the past mainly used mental energy illusions to trap the enemy and wear down their mental energy until they were completely exhausted. The most important thing was the word illusion. The Eye of Ice Soul uses the cold element of the eye bloodline to freeze or injure the opponent's mind. It has a certain attack and corrosiveness. Zhao Feng's thoughts started to become clear. This meant that after his first evolution, the azure eye should be of the wind element. It was just that at that time, he didn't have the corresponding secret technique. If it was said that he had the Eye of Ice now, then he had the Eye of Wind in the past. Unfortunately, if I had the Ball of Ice Soul earlier, my current achievements would be much higher. Zhao Feng felt slightly regretful, but he also felt lucky. Just as he was wholeheartedly comprehending it, he suddenly smelled a wisp of clear fragrance. Zhao Feng felt it, and opened his eyes to find a beautiful girl sitting next to him smiling at him. Lu Qinxin. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. Lu Qinxin had won the challenge and sat in the 5th spot, becoming one of the 10 stars of the great country. Chapter 332. At this point in time, the rankings of the 10 stars were as follows. First place, Prince Jin. Second place, Wang Xiaoguai. Third place, Tian Yunji. Fourth place, Zhao Feng. Fifth place, Lu Qinxin. Sixth place, Jiang Samfeng. The rankings of the top 6 were very stable. The ones that were changing were the last few rankings, especially the 9th and 10th place. Zhao Feng's right hand was Tian Yunji, and his left hand was Lu Qinxin. Because of Lu Qinxin's arrival, Zhao Feng seemed to feel a bit of pressure and didn't continue to sleep. Lu Qinxin sat next to him and didn't blame him at all. Instead, there was a hint of joy on her face. After escaping from the flooding lake city, the two had an agreement and didn't cancel the marriage. This meant that the two were engaged and would compete on the same stage in this era, where geniuses were as common as the clouds. If there were no accidents, the two would step onto the peak stage of the continent and compete in the sacred True Dragon Gathering. This kind of coincidence of fate made the future of life full of brilliance and all kinds of variables. Lu Qinxin's heart was content as she looked at the blue-haired youth in front of her and felt a warmth that she hadn't felt for a long time. On the same stage, Zhao Feng and Lu Qinxin's eyes occasionally met. The former was slightly awkward while the latter had a smile that wasn't a smile, but neither said anything. First place Prince Jin squinted his eyes as he scanned over Zhao Feng and Lu Qinxin. His gaze lingered on Lu Qinxin's face and couldn't help but be stunned. This Lu Qinxin's looks, aura and talent are all on the same level as the Empress. Furthermore, she's more suitable as a wife. If I can marry her, I'll be able to receive the support of the flooding Lake Lu family, and even rope in the Lu family and Empress Qin. This will increase my chances of becoming the emperor. Prince Jin's heart couldn't help but beat faster, and his slightly chubby face almost started to laugh. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. Firstly, Lu Qinxin's charisma and aura was completely different from Empress Qin's, but was comparable to her. Most importantly, she, who had inherited the Tao of music, wasn't as ambitious as Empress Qin. Secondly, Lu Qinxin had a large force behind her. Before Lu Jiutian reached the True Lord rank, the flooding Lake Lu family was one of the top forces of the branch families. When the flooding Lake City Lord reached the True Lord rank, his strength would be comparable to any of the 4 major families. Of course, Prince Jin didn't know that there was an irreconcilable grudge between Empress Qin and Lu Qinxin. But at this time, he had already made up his mind. Julin. Prince Jin used his spiritual sense to contact a purple-robed youth in the top 10 of the overall competition. Big Brother Jin, what are your orders? The purple-robed youth said respectfully. The two of them began to communicate via voice transmission. As it turned out, this purple-robed young man was also a genius of the royal family. He possessed the power of the bloodline and was ranked 4th among the top 10 in the country. His strength was even stronger than that of Bai Jiangqing. You have 2 chances. Use one of them to challenge Zhao Feng and see if he's strong or weak. If I remember correctly, you have a soul protection jade pendant with you. It has a certain resistance against mental attacks. Prince Jin ordered. No problem. Even if I can't defeat this thief, I can definitely dig out more secrets from him. The purple-robed Zhu Lin said confidently. If he had to defeat Zhao Feng, his chances of winning wouldn't be high, but forcing the latter to reveal more of his strength shouldn't be hard. Furthermore, he had a rare Soul Dao protective item. Zhu Lin stood out and his eyes were as sharp as a sword. Bastard Zhao Feng, you've inherited the Water Moon Pirate's evil methods. What right do you have to participate in the sacred True Dragon gathering? Today I'll... Qiu. Before he finished speaking, Zhao Feng disappeared from his position. What's with all the bullshit? Zhao Feng's ghostly figure appeared on the stage with a flash of lightning. You. Zhu Lin paused and was enraged as he quickly climbed onto the stage. The two were dozens of yards apart and faced each other. The judge announced the start. Zhu Lin took a deep breath and prepared to receive Zhao Feng's eye bloodline attack. Wu. He crossed his arms and opened his bloodline power. A golden figure rose from his body, and a layer of scarlet-yellow lines appeared on his skin. His bones and muscles suddenly became stronger. Imperial bloodline. A wave of discussion came from the stage. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye contracted and found that Zhu Lin's body and power had increased greatly. If he originally had 1,000 pounds of strength, then now he had at least 1,600. The increase in body power was even stronger. If he could originally withstand 1,000 pounds of strength, then now he could withstand at least 1,800. This didn't even include the effects of other bloodlines. This meant that Zhu Lin's battle power had doubled. What a powerful bloodline. Zhao Feng was shocked. In terms of battle power, Zhu Lin's imperial bloodline was even stronger than Zhao Feng's. Prince Jin's bloodline was the strongest in the Canopy Great Country. From this, it was hard to estimate the latter's true strength. Of course, this didn't mean that Zhao Feng's bloodline was weaker than the other. This was because some bloodlines didn't mainly increase battle power. For example, Zhao Yufei. Zhao Feng's core was the god's spiritual eye, and his bloodline was the byproduct of the god's spiritual eye. Bastard, if you don't make a move now, you won't have another chance. Zhu Lin had a mocking expression. The side effect was that their reactions were slower than normal, and they obviously had no chance of getting a spot for the sacred True Dragon gathering. Zhu Lin and Bai Jiangqing were filled with regret and unwillingness. The two had held back some of their strength in the finals, and originally had the chance to get a spot for the sacred True Dragon gathering. But because they had challenged Zhao Feng, they had lost this chance. Zhu Lin, I'll get justice for you when I have the chance. Prince Jin reassured Zhu Lin. Prince Jin didn't expect this situation either. Who would have thought that Zhao Feng's Eye of Ice Soul would have such an effect? The coldness eroded the mental energy and left a wound on the mental energy level. The biggest difference between the Eye of Ice Soul and the Eye of Illusion was that the former was a mental energy attack, while the latter was a mental energy illusion. If the Eye of Ice Soul is strong enough, it can freeze the opponent's mental energy consciousness and make them fall into an eternal slumber. Zhao Feng had used the Eye of Ice Soul twice and felt its corrosiveness. At this point in time, the 10 spots for the sacred True Dragon gathering had been decided in the Canopy Great Country. Zhao Feng closed his eyes and focused on comprehending. He didn't know that the battle hadn't ended yet. At this time, the Canopy Great Country Emperor slowly stood up and said in a low tone, "According to the past, the Canopy Great Country will choose a leader from the 10 people participating in the sacred True Dragon gathering. This leader must have the strongest strength and stand at the peak of this generation." The leader represented the strongest genius of the Canopy Great Country. Once they left the Great Country, the leader represented the entire Canopy Great Country. Simply put, the next step was to fight for the number 1 spot in the Great Country. The number 1 spot will be Prince Jin Zhu Jinping. If anyone doesn't agree, they can challenge him. The Canopy Great Country Emperor smiled brightly. Prince Jin was his son with the strongest bloodline, and the emperor was very confident in his strength. In terms of cultivation, Prince Jin was at the peak true human rank, and was stronger than any of the geniuses present. In terms of bloodline, Prince Jin was also recognized as the strongest in the great country. However, as soon as the Canopy Great Country Emperor's words finished, Wang Xiaoguai and Tian Yunji, who were ranked second, were filled with battle intent. The number one spot in the great country will belong to me. Wang Xiaoguai held a gold and silver stick, and in a blur, he landed on the stage and jumped up and down. Everyone present could not help but be astonished. However, no one underestimated Wang Xiaoguai's strength. This time, there were only him and Prince Jin in the competition. From the beginning to the end, no one dared to challenge him. Prince Jin let out a long laugh as he landed on the stage like a golden rock. Pung! The stage lightly shook. It was hard to imagine Prince Jin's physical strength. Dong! Wang Xiaoguai didn't show any weakness, and slammed his gold and silver stick down on the stage. His muscles didn't have the slightest hint of flesh, and were like metal or stone. Each of his movements could shake mountains, and crush normal true human rank cultivators. Ancient bloodline. Zhao Feng was woken up, and the faint blue blood in his body trembled slightly, as if it was being pressured. Chapter 333. Wang Xiaoguai's hair was messy, and his eyes flashed with a purple-gold light. As his bloodline power was activated, the entire arena started to shake. The terrifying power could even kill a late-stage true human rank. What a powerful bloodline talent! The audience burst into an uproar. Even Zhao Feng was woken up, and his bloodline power felt the opponent's ancient bloodline aura, and felt slightly pressured. Zhao Feng had rarely seen such a situation. There were only two possibilities. One was that Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline grade was extremely high, and the other was that his bloodline had awakened to its ancestor. For example, one bloodline had awakened to 10%, while the other had only awakened to 1%. Ha ha ha. This is the surprise that the Wind Cloud sect has brought to the world. Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline was awakened to its ancestor half a year ago, and its power can't be compared to before. Prince Jin's position as the strongest bloodline in the Canopy Great Country won't be stable now. The upper echelon of the Wind Cloud sect had smug expressions. Congratulations to the Wind Cloud sect for having a bloodline genius. The deputy religion leader smiled faintly and congratulated the Wind Cloud sect leader. In the Canopy Great Country, the Wind Cloud sect was the ally of the Iron Blood religion. This Wang Xiaoguai comes from the Wind Cloud sect, and has a weird personality. He's been a monster since he was young. After his bloodline awakened, he was nurtured by the Wind Cloud sect. Seeing Zhao Feng's curiosity, Tian Yunji explained. Zhao Feng was slightly surprised. Didn't this Tian Yunji hold a grudge? That day, Zhao Feng's water moon god Peach Fan had almost destroyed the other's future. Of all the strong opponents I've met in my life, there are two who are worthy of my respect and gratitude. One of them allowed me to comprehend and activate saber intent. The other person is you, who allowed me to rise from the ashes, giving me a new life. Tian Yunji said with a faint smile. Although his blade intent wasn't very strong, Zhao Feng felt that it had reached a higher level than before. No wonder Tian Yunji also wanted to challenge Prince Jin. Wang Xiaoguai, your bloodline has been strengthened, but it is still no match for my royal bloodline. Prince Jin's voice was deep as he crossed his arms, his brown hair dancing in the wind. Buzz! His entire body's bones, flesh and blood, especially his skin, became thicker, and a layer of golden veins appeared. In the blink of an eye, Prince Jin's body grew a few feet taller. His flesh and skin thickened greatly, making him look even more muscular. Not only that, behind him, there was also a huge sturdy shadow that was about 3 meters long. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye contracted, and found that the shape of the figure was similar to a common animal. This is the rare golden boar bloodline of the Canopy Great Imperial family. With the golden boar bloodline, he can withstand the joint attacks of several people of the same level. Prince Jin's golden boar bloodline has been activated to a high degree, and he has a complete set of bloodline secret arts. Bang! 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 The two strength-type geniuses activated their bloodline power. Their footsteps caused the arena to tremble slightly. Earth Fiend Windcloud Staff. Wang Xiaoguai gave a weird cry as he swung his gold and silver rod. Purple and azure wind whistled as it swept everything within 100 yards. Its powerful might covered the entire stage. Golden Destruction Demon Slaughtering Palm. Prince Jin roared as the golden veins on his palm expanded to the size of a fan. With a forceful slap, an enormous golden palm leapt towards Wang Xiaoguai. Boom! Boom! The two mountain-shaking powers clashed together, and the bloodline power and chi of true spirit intertwined and broke through the barrier of cultivation. It was extremely hard for one's power to surpass their own cultivation. However, it wasn't impossible. The most common way was to use secret arts or burn their chi of true spirit, but the price was high. Furthermore, if one used a powerful weapon, it would expend a lot of energy and be hard to control. Bloodline power was the one with the least side effects. Therefore, bloodline geniuses were blessed by the heavens and could break through the barrier of cultivation. Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai in front of them were perfect examples. As the two fought, holes were left on the arena. Some of the previous competitors couldn't even damage the arena in the slightest. It felt like two giants were fighting, causing the stage to shake from time to time. These two monsters, the geniuses from all over the country, felt their hearts tremble as they saw this battle. The top 10 competitors couldn't help but feel lucky that they didn't challenge Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai before. Those below the peak true human rank would either be slapped flat or smashed to death by a stick. Boom! After fighting for a long time, the stage the two were on started to crack and dust rose. In terms of bloodline power, the two are roughly the same. Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline grade is high while Prince Jin's bloodline is high, and he has a secret art to match it. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye inspected the two. At a certain moment, Zhao Feng opened his God's spiritual eye and saw how the two circulated their bloodline power and chi of true spirit. In the end, he found that the two both had their own ways of using their bloodline power. Wang Xiaoguai was still a bit inexperienced. However, Prince Jin definitely had a complete system. AI! Zhao Feng slapped his forehead. Only after observing Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai's usage of bloodline power did he realize how crude his usage of bloodline power was. It wasn't crude. Zhao Feng didn't even know how to use it, and only used it crudely, without any technique. Of course, this couldn't be blamed on Zhao Feng. His bloodline power was acquired, and was a byproduct of the God's spiritual eye merging into his body. Therefore, he didn't have a proper way of using his bloodline power, nor did he have a system to awaken it. Compared to him, Prince Jin's bloodline power had a complete system and secret art. After all, the bloodline of the Imperials was passed down from generation to generation, and the system was perfect. And it's not too late to make up for it. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye was fully opened as he observed how the two used their bloodline power. Prince Jin's usage was extremely mature. Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline might be rare, and his system wasn't complete. However, he was still much stronger than Zhao Feng. Firstly, Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline power was innate, and after a long time, his body would instinctively adapt and use it. Secondly, after his bloodline awakened, he was nurtured by the Wind Cloud sect, and was taught by experts. On the other hand, Zhao Feng came from a faraway place and his bloodline was rare. As he observed, Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye's strong learning and analysis abilities were used, and he saw some things. Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline power is the type that increases strength, and the element isn't obvious. However, there are some bloodline powers that increase speed, explosiveness, and even attributes. As Zhao Feng analyzed and comprehended, he remembered some bloodline powers he had seen before. Bai Jiangqing's bloodline power was mainly based on the element to activate the powerful green flame. Then what about Zhao Feng himself? The core of my bloodline power is still the God's spiritual eye. It was green before, but now it's faint blue. Then my bloodline power must be leaning towards the ice element. Zhao Feng closed his eyes and started to comprehend. In the depths of his body, the faint blue blood flowed in a special way and merged with his flesh, bones, and chi of true spirit. Zhao Feng's method of usage came from Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai. Prince Jin's system was more complete, and Wang Xiaoguai also had an ancient bloodline, which was similar to Zhao Feng's. Wang, the faint blue blood in Zhao Feng's body merged with the qi of true spirit near his source of true spirit, and merged into his flesh and bones. Instantly, within Zhao Feng's body, balls of azure and blue air started to crackle with electricity and coldness. So simple. Looks like paper really is separated by mountains. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. The bloodline bottleneck that had troubled him for many years had been broken through. As he familiarized himself with it, the faint blue blood flowed to every corner of his body. Every time he used it, Zhao Feng's bloodline power would become purer and thicker. Zhao Feng soon completed a simple system. With the god's spiritual eye as the core, his bloodline power circulated endlessly through his flesh and bones. Every time he circulated it, he felt the bloodline power in his body become stronger. This was like a person with limitless strength finally finding a way to use it. This aura. Lu Qinxin and Tian Yunji beside him felt the faint bloodline aura from Zhao Feng's body, and their own bloodlines trembled uneasily. Tian Yunji was the descendant of two bloodlines, and his bloodline was obviously strong. Lu Qinxin's bloodline was even more mysterious and unique. Time continued to pass. On the arena, Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai fought fiercely, as if the mountains were collapsing and the earth was cracking. As for Zhao Feng, he entered a certain state. Faint blue ripples would occasionally appear on his body, and the coldness would pierce into his bones. An hour later, the first step is complete. Zhao Feng let out a long breath, and slowly retracted his bloodline power. At this time, his bloodline power was more than twice as strong as before. This was like a piece of jade that had been carved and released a flawless light. They're still fighting. Zhao Feng opened his eyes in surprise. The two of them had been fighting for close to an hour. Crack boom. Suddenly, a loud sound came from the arena, and the arena broke into pieces, causing dust to rise. Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai's battle power had reached its peak, and they unleashed an earth-shattering attack. Boom! Boom! Two figures, one on the left and one on the right, flew out. A trace of blood leaked from the corner of Prince Jin's mouth, and Wang Xiaoguai spat out a mouthful of blood in midair. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye quickly analyzed. In terms of battle power, the two were evenly matched. In terms of offense, Wang Xiaoguai was slightly stronger. However, Prince Jin's Golden Boar bloodline had extremely strong defense, and was said to be able to face the combined attacks of several people of the same cultivation. Therefore, his injuries were slightly lighter. Not good. At this point in time, chaos ensued. As the two retreated, they brought with them a berserk gust of wind that was no weaker than a single attack from the two. Those under the true mystic rank would find it hard to survive this move. This was especially so for Prince Jin. The direction he retreated towards was where the 10 stars were. Good chance. Kill Zhao Feng while he's retreating. Prince Jin purposely didn't stop his retreat, and charged towards Zhao Feng with a wave of air, and the figure of a golden pig. Not good. Lu Qinxin, Tian Yunji and company's expressions changed as they were caught off guard. However, how could Prince Jin's movements escape Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye? Fuck off. Zhao Feng roared as he circulated his bloodline power in a special way, and thrust it forward. Pa! Wang! The instant this palm was thrust out, a faint blue figure appeared behind Zhao Feng's back, as if it had come from the ancient times. Whoosh! That palm energy erupted, green lightning and thunder roared. There was also a ball of icy light that was accompanied by a bone-chilling illusion. It roared and wreaked havoc. With a pung sound, it struck Prince Jin. Chapter 334. Pa! Zhao Feng thrust out his palm, and an icy wind howled in his ears. His palm contained an icy figure that chilled one to the bone. Beside him, Tian Yunji and Lu Qinxin stared at Zhao Feng's back in shock. At the same time Zhao Feng circulated his bloodline power, a blurry ice blue figure appeared behind him, as if it was an ancient god that had come from the ancient times. Prince Jin's speed had reached the extreme, as he took Zhao Feng's attack head-on. Boom! Arcs of lightning shot out in all directions. The icy figure roared and exploded, producing a huge mite that engulfed Prince Jean. Wah! Prince Jean had just spat out a mouthful of blood, which froze at the corner of his mouth. Even with his terrifying body, he felt a bone-chilling coldness spread throughout his body, and he couldn't help but shiver. Damn it! Prince Jin's injuries worsened, and all of his blood seemed to freeze. Even his bloodline and chi of true spirit showed signs of freezing. It was extremely strenuous to circulate them. In everyone's eyes, Prince Jin's body was covered in a layer of ice, and his body was stiff and clumsy. Zhao Feng, why did you ambush me? Prince Jin roared in anger, as he secretly circulated his bloodline and chi of true spirit to dissolve the terrifying coldness that enveloped his body. Shua! The blue-haired youth flashed next to Prince Jin and kicked out without saying anything. Bam! Prince Jin was kicked out of the high stage, and his bulky figure flew out dozens of yards. Plop! The instant Prince Jin landed on the ground, he spat out another mouthful of blood. No one knew if it was because of anger or his injuries. The crowd, the experts and geniuses from all over the country, stared with their mouths open wide in astonishment. This brat has such a pure ancient bloodline, and seems to be slightly stronger than Prince Jin. His bloodline power is comparable to Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai, and he even has the mysterious ice element. What kind of ancient bloodline does the illusory figure behind him represent? Could it be a bloodline from the 10,000 ancient races? But that's impossible. The pinnacle experts from all over the country were discussing and speculating. Through a secret art, I was able to unlock the power of my bloodline, and my prowess has been amplified by more than a single level. Furthermore, my bloodline attacks are infused with the frost attribute as well. Zhao Feng sat back down and nodded to himself. That palm just then could threaten those at the true mystic rank and normal true human rank cultivators would be turned to ice with one palm. If it was the fan-flying bandit from before, he probably wouldn't even have the chance to escape. Bloodline geniuses were worthy of being favored by the heavens. Of course, Prince Jin's golden boar bloodline gave him a strong defense and thick skin that exceeded Zhao Feng's expectations. The other party had completely withstood his palm strike. Even though he was injured and eroded by the power of ice, he did not suffer any fatal injuries. As expected of the most powerful bloodline in a great country, this was after Prince Jin had fought a huge battle and used up most of his true chi and bloodline. Bastard Zhao Feng, sneak attack from the back, despicable and shameless. What kind of hero are you? If you have the ability, let's fight fair and square. Prince Jin barely managed to stand up from the ground, and his face was full of hatred and anger. He originally wanted to kill Zhao Feng with this chance, but didn't expect the latter to react so quickly and explode with his bloodline power. Hee, do you still dare to fight me now? A mocking smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. You. Prince Jin was speechless as he stomped around with an ugly expression. In his current state, he had used up a lot of his bloodline and chi of true spirit. How would he have the confidence to fight against the unfathomable Zhao Feng? Zhao Feng's bloodline power attack just then had stunned Prince Jin for a long time. That palm strike just now was shockingly powerful. It had already broken through his bloodline defense. The most important thing was that the power of ice in his bloodline almost froze his blood, and his chi of true spirit and bloodline power were blocked. If Zhao Feng didn't just use one palm, but more than 10, Prince Jin couldn't imagine the result. Shameless bastard. This prince won't fall for your tricks. I'll fight you after I recover. Prince Jin roared as he lost all his face. If he tried to be a hero and challenged Zhao Feng in this state, he would lose more than he would win. This bastard Zhao Feng has such a powerful bloodline. Even Prince Jin might not be his match at his peak. Jiner's bloodline specializes in strength and defense, not speed. Once they fight, Zhao Feng will definitely counter him. The upper echelon of the Imperials communicated with each other. Prince Jin is indeed not his match unless he disregards the price and uses a forbidden secret technique. Empress Qin sighed as she looked at Zhao Feng with a solemn gaze. Zhao Feng's forte was speed, and the ice element in his bloodline power could restrict the opponent's movement and speed. Once they fought, Prince Jean might not even be able to fight back. Ha ha ha. He doesn't dare to fight you, but I do. An excited and presumptuous laughter came from the other end of the collapsed stage. The person who spoke was Wang Xiaoguai. Although Wang Xiaoguai was injured, he fought with no regard for his life. Furthermore, his ancient bloodline was extremely unique. The more injured he was, the stronger his battle power would be. Therefore, very few people were willing to fight Wang Xiaoguai head-on. Even Tian Yunji was slightly weaker than him before the destruction and reconstruction. Only Prince Jean could fight Wang Xiaoguai head-on with his monstrous defense after activating the Golden Boar bloodline. This Wang Xiaoguai. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed, but he didn't move. The other's bloodline was indeed unique. The more injured he was, the stronger his battle power would be. Blue hair, you seem to be stronger than Prince Jean. Come out and fight. Wang Xiaoguai jumped up and down as he shouted in the air above the arena. Zhao Feng bastard. Come out and fight. Zhao Feng bastard only knows how to sneak attack. Come out and fight fairly if you have the skills. Hee, this bastard just ambushed Prince Jean. Wasn't he very strong? Now he's a turtle hiding in its shell? The geniuses all condemned him. The target of their condemnation was a 17-year-old youth who was already famous across the country, obtaining the Water Moon treasury, blackmailing Empress Qin, the youngest chapter leader of the Iron Blood religion, sweeping across the Thousand Water River. And now, he seemed to be on the verge of becoming the strongest in the country. Such achievements at such a young age, such fame and glory made many geniuses jealous. However, Zhao Feng sat in his original position and closed his eyes, unmoving. He was trying to comprehend the circulation method of the bloodline mystic art and try to perfect it to form his own unique system. Indeed, Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eyes learning ability was extremely strong, and it was easy for him to copy some simple techniques and moves. However, other people's things were still other people's, and might not be suitable for him. Blue hair brat. Even if you don't want to fight, you still have to fight. Wang Xiaoguai laughed as he waved his gold and silver rod, and leapt towards Zhao Feng. The judges and enforcers of the Imperials purposely didn't stop him, and had gloating smiles on their faces. Xiao Kuang. Don't cause trouble. Zhao Feng comes from the Iron Blood religion, and is our Wind Cloud sect's ally. The expression of the Wind Cloud sect master changed slightly, and he immediately stopped him. However, at this moment, Wang Xiaoguai had gone crazy and wouldn't listen to advice. He was arrogant and wouldn't listen to his masters. Eye of illusion. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye suddenly opened. The faint blue left eye seemed to extend into a cold pond that was so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen, and it became deeper and deeper. Facing such a monstrous opponent, Zhao Feng didn't want to face him head-on. That would be a waste of effort. Shua. Wang Xiaoguai's consciousness went cold, and the coldness spread into his mind. Half a breath, 1.5 breaths plop. Wang Xiaoguai half knelt on the ground as cold sweat dripped from his body. He gritted his teeth and stared at Zhao Feng in fear and shock. You. In the mental energy illusion prison, he had been tortured by Zhao Feng for an entire day and night. Zhao Feng had to admit that the opponent's will was strong. Wang Xiaoguai specialized in body strengthening, and his will was monstrous. However, it wasn't enough against Zhao Feng, who specialized in mental energy, and had stepped into the ancient Tao of Ice. The spectators and the geniuses who were competing for the spots inhaled deeply in astonishment. The scene in front of them was too shocking. Zhao Feng had instantly killed Wang Xiaoguai. Even Prince Jean, who had returned to his seat, his expression froze, the anger and dissatisfaction in his heart dissipating. Of course, there was a reason why Zhao Feng didn't use the Eye of Ice Soul, and instead used the Eye of Illusion. The Eye of Ice Soul had a strong corrosive effect on the mind, and could make the opponent fall into a state of eternal damnation. On the other hand, the Eye of Illusion was more gentle. After all, it was a mental energy technique, and its main purpose was to waste the opponent's mental energy until the target was exhausted or fell asleep. Wang Xiaoguai came from the Wind Cloud sect, and was in the same alliance as the Iron Blood religion. Zhao Feng obviously held back. After defeating Wang Xiaoguai in one eye, Zhao Feng closed his eyes again. When he attacked just then, he didn't even get up. Where did this brat's eye bloodline come from? Only those families with eye bloodlines on the continent would have such a strong eye power. The upper echelon of the great country had wary expressions as their eyes twinkled. Zhao Feng's display of strength and eye bloodline seemed to suppress all the geniuses in the great country. Don't overestimate him. Wang Xiaoguai's bloodline and skill both lean towards strength and body. His cultivation isn't even at the peak true human rank, so it's reasonable for him to be countered by this brat's mental energy technique. An elder from the Imperials said. As for Prince Jin's defeat, it's because he was injured in the battle, and he was ambushed by that bastard. If Prince Jin was at his peak state, he would have a 60% chance of winning with his peak true human rank cultivation and a soul Dao item. As soon as this argument was made, some people agreed with it. Guests, what happened just then was just an accident. However, chapter leader Zhao's sneak attack wasn't honorable. The judge from the Imperials smiled and bowed. The upper echelon of the Iron Blood religion was instantly dissatisfied. Those with eyes could see that Prince Jin had purposely charged towards Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng didn't care about this and closed his eyes, not caring about the outside world. Prince Jin won by a bit in the battle between Prince Jin and Wang Xiaoguai. If no one continues to challenge him, Prince Jin will be the leader of the Canopy Great Country in the sacred True Dragon Gathering. The old judge stroked his beard and chuckled. The crowd was silent. Wang Xiaoguai was exhausted and didn't have the strength to fight. Tian Yunji suddenly didn't have the mood to challenge, and Lu Qinxin was calm. Looks like no one has any objections. Prince Jin is the #1 star of the great country. The Imperials were full of smiles. Chapter 335. Finally, because no one challenged him, Prince Jin became the leader of the great country's sacred True Dragon Gathering. Prince Jin broke out in cold sweat and rejoiced in his heart. The competition and pressure this time was too great. The geniuses were all more monstrous than the last. From the second to the fourth, everyone could shake Prince Jin's position. Wang Xiaoguai, who was ranked second, was only slightly weaker. If he performed better, the situation might be different. Third place Tian Yunji's blade intent had been broken, and his battle power was immeasurable. However, second and third place were both stunned by Zhao Feng's strength. Tian Yunji originally wanted to challenge Prince Jin, but after seeing Zhao Feng's strength, he instantly lost the mood. In the eyes of the upper echelons of the 8 forces, Zhao Feng's strength very likely surpassed Prince Jin. In name, Prince Jin was the #1 star. However, in many people's eyes, Zhao Feng was #1. However, Zhao Feng didn't seem to be interested in being #1, and continued to comprehend with his eyes closed. The ball of ice soul led him into a vast world of soul Dao. There were endless knowledge and mysteries that he needed to comprehend. The bloodline secret technique allowed Zhao Feng to complete his bloodline system. This was just the beginning. The sacred True Dragon Gathering was only a few months away, and Zhao Feng grasped every second. The gathering soon came to an end. The 8 forces that had gathered in the arena dispersed. Zhao Feng left a small part of his attention outside, and most of it was on comprehension. Blood hair-colored Tiamo nodded his head and ordered everyone not to disturb Zhao Feng. The journey back to the main headquarters of the Iron Blood religion was silent. The Iron Blood religion Great Hall. Tiamo smiled. There are a total of 10 spots this time, and the Iron Blood religion has taken 2. Not bad. The faces of the Iron Blood religion's upper echelon were also flushed red, feeling a sense of satisfaction. The large number of spots was only one of the reasons. Many upper echelons looked at Zhao Feng with kindness. This blue-haired youth still had his eyes closed, but no one would think that he was arrogant. During the competition for the slots, Zhao Feng had sent Prince Jin flying with a palm and a kick. He had also instantly killed Wang Xiaoguai. Just thinking about it made people excited. Although Zhao Feng did not win first place, the 2 geniuses who were ranked first and second were shocked by him. At least in everyone's eyes, Zhao Feng was the #1 rising star of the country. The fight for the great country spot is just a small stage. The true challenge is the sacred True Dragon Gathering. The birth of 100 true dragon geniuses may change the fate of the continent and lead this era. Tiemo's eyes were filled with hope. He had witnessed dozens of sacred true dragon gatherings. However, this era was different. Peerless geniuses were being born like mushrooms after the rain, far surpassing the past dozens of eras. Otherwise, the chances of the heavenly fortune inheritance connecting with the continent would not be so high. At this moment, Zhao Feng also opened his eyes and felt that this era was vast. It was unfortunate, but it was also fortunate. The Iron Blood religion will send out Zhao Feng, Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi and Dong Shui to participate in the sacred True Dragon gathering. Tiamo said, "How did it become 4?" Zhao Feng was puzzled. "It's like this. The Iron Blood religion is a half-star force, and at its peak was close to 1 star, comparable to the 10 great clans. Therefore, the Iron Blood religion already had 2 spots. In the entire Canopy Great Country, only the Imperials, Iron Blood religion, Qin Sword Palace, and a few other forces have this honor. The 4 great families are still a bit lacking." One of the branch leaders beside him explained. Zhao Feng understood. In terms of strength, the Iron Blood religion was even stronger than some strong countries. If a strong country could have 2 spots, the Iron Blood religion obviously wouldn't lose out. If a country's rank was high enough, there would be spots. At the same time, forces like clans and families could also have spots if their rank was high enough. The ranking was based on the ancient star rank of the clans. Half-star forces would have 2 spots. For example, the Iron Blood religion. 1-star forces would have 10 spots. For example, the Heavenly Yuan clan of the northern continent. 1-star forces have at least an origin core realm sovereign, as well as many other requirements. It looks like each of the 10 great clans has an origin core realm sovereign. Zhao Feng understood. In half a month, the 4 of you will head to the Northern Star stand and use the Northern Star teleportation array to reach the Middle Continent Sacred Zone. At that time, the peak geniuses of the 3 great countries, strong countries and sects, including the Heavenly Yuan clan, will all gather there. Tiamo explained the route. The Northern Star stand would be the gathering point of the entire northern continent. The Azure Flower continent was split into north, east, west, south, etc. At the center of each region would be a star stand that reached the Middle Continent Sacred Zone. Of course, not everyone could use the star platform as they pleased. After understanding the route, Zhao Feng returned to his residence and immediately went into seclusion. Occasionally, Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi, and Dong Shui would spar and communicate with each other. However, none of them went to look for Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng was obviously not on the same level as the 3 of them. Even Jiang Sanfeng could only look at him from afar. Within the secret hall, Zhao Feng sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. Within the dimension of his left eye, he was continuously practicing his bloodline technique. His bloodline technique was copied from Prince Jin and company, and was slightly modified before using it on himself. At the moment, this bloodline secret art was still a little rough and imperfect. My bloodline is very unique, and uses the god's spiritual eye as the core. I can only use other bloodline techniques, and slowly explore them myself. Zhao Feng sighed in his heart. As long as Zhao Feng asked, the Iron Blood religion would provide him with many bloodline techniques. However, the path of his bloodline depended on himself more than anything else. Several days later, Zhao Feng used many secret bloodline techniques as a reference to perfect and improve his own. With a thought, Zhao Feng's bloodline power turned into a dozen or so lines that circulated within his body. As if they had their own intelligence, they didn't clash with each other. "Open!" Zhao Feng lightly exclaimed, and the dozen or so lines split into hundreds of lines. Some merged into his chi of true spirit, while others stayed on the surface of his body. Instantly, a layer of faint blue ice appeared on his body, and an indistinct faint blue figure could be seen behind him. Zhao Feng understood that the faint blue figure was an incomplete form of his bloodline ancestor. If the bloodline concentration was too low, it would only be one of the tens of thousands of abilities of the ancestor. In order to display the complete form of the ancestor, the bloodline had to reach at least half of the ancestor's bloodline. Who, with a thought, Zhao Feng's bloodline power quickly disappeared into his body. At this point in time, his bloodline techniques were stronger than when he was at the competition. His proficiency and control had greatly increased. After stabilizing his bloodline techniques, Zhao Feng once again entered the ancient world of the soul within the Ball of Ice Soul. The ancient Tao of the soul was a large system, and mental energy techniques were only a small and shallow branch of it. The Tao of the soul came from a deeper level of soul techniques. The power of mental energy also came from the core of the soul. The Ball of Ice Soul contained some incomplete knowledge of the ancient Tao of the soul, and most of it was the Tao of the Ice Soul. The Ice Soul focused on the element of ice and water. This Tao of the Ice Soul is extremely compatible with my God's spiritual eye. It's easier to comprehend and cultivate it. Zhao Feng nodded his head in his heart. The only regret was that the information in the Ball of Ice Soul was incomplete, causing the system to be incomplete. However, even so, Zhao Feng felt lucky. If he didn't obtain the Ball of Ice Soul, he wouldn't be able to dig out the potential of his eye bloodline. Under that situation, he would probably only be able to reach the top 50. However, with the Ball of Ice Soul, his hopes increased greatly, and he could reach the top 20. In the blink of an eye, more than a dozen days had passed. Zhao Feng had comprehended more than half of the first level of the Ball of Ice Soul, the basics of Ice Soul. The second level of the Ice Soul was extremely profound and hard to comprehend. However, as his comprehension of the Tao of the soul deepened, Zhao Feng's mental energy level rose by leaps and bounds. In the dimension of his left eye, the faint blue freezing pond extended to 9 feet. Once it reached 10 feet, Zhao Feng's mental energy level would be comparable to the true mystic rank. Probably no one under the true mystic rank can block one glance from me. Even normal true mystic ranks might fall for it. Zhao Feng was confident. His mental energy level had reached the peak true human rank. However, his source of mental energy was several times stronger than others, and there were still parts that he couldn't use. With the God's spiritual eye, normal true mystic rank experts that didn't have strong mental energy or were found by Zhao Feng might be tricked. On this day, Zhao Feng finally came out of seclusion. There were only 2 days left until they left. He remembered another matter, and that was the task he had given to Taigon Master. Chapter Leader, this is the weapon Taigon Master forged for you. Dai Yi took out a black metal box. As Zhao Feng opened the metal box, he felt a coldness seep out. The instant the metal box was opened, an azure and blue light intertwined. Zhao Feng took out a crystalline blue bow. Its shape was the same as the Luoho bow, but it was a size bigger. The bowstring of the bow glowed with lightning and resonated with Zhao Feng's chi of true spirit. Qiao! Qiao! 3 dark silver arrows flew back to their positions. The bow's ice element is compatible with my bloodline. The bow's lightning element is compatible with my lightning inheritance. These 3 arrows are sharp and are good at penetrating and can conduct energy. Zhao Feng's eyes scanned and concluded. The new Luoho bow and arrows were both close to the middle tier of the spiritual grade. This made Zhao Feng nod his head in praise. Normal true human rank experts used low-tier spiritual grade weapons. If they used middle-tier spiritual grade weapons, they would expend a lot of energy. Only those at the true mystic rank could unleash the full power of middle-tier spiritual grade weapons. The Water Moon God Peach Fan and Een Shadow Cloak were special and belonged to the inheritance category. When used with a unique skill or bloodline power, they could unleash their full power. There was another point. The new Luoho bow and Luoho arrows were made up of both. Once used, it was like using 2 spiritual grade weapons at the same time, and the consumption was terrifying. The difference was that the bow and arrows were both close to the middle-tier spiritual grade, but not yet. The combination of the 2 should surpass normal middle-tier spiritual grade weapons. It won't fall behind before reaching the true Lord rank. Zhao Feng lightly touched the Luoho bow, and a blue light appeared on its surface. The compatibility wasn't much lower than before. At this point, Zhao Feng's weapons had been perfected. Chapter 336. There was still 2 days left until they left. The 4 geniuses of the Iron Blood religion had all made their preparations. Jiang Sanfeng and company saw Zhao Feng come out of seclusion and came to ask for advice. In the past few days, Jiang Sanfeng, Dai Yi and Dong Shui had sparred with each other, but didn't have the chance to spar with the peak geniuses of the northern continent. Okay. Zhao Feng nodded his head and inspected the three. The cultivation of the three didn't change much. After reaching the true spirit realm, every increase in cultivation was extremely difficult. The difficulty would increase exponentially in the future. At the same age with the difference of one realm, for example the true human rank and the true mystic rank, the difference in cultivation speed could be calculated by many times. This included Zhao Feng himself. Although his cultivation had increased, there was still a long way to go before he reached the late stages of the true human rank. After all, his eye bloodline didn't help much in terms of cultivation speed. It mainly helped in terms of comprehension. The first to come up was Dong Shui, who was at the early stages of the true human rank. In terms of strength, Dong Shui was the weakest of the four. Chapter Leader Zhao, please go easy on us. Dong Shui said respectfully. Zhao Feng had promised the three that he wouldn't use his eye bloodline. Dong Shui's ice jade technique was an ice elemental skill, and when she attacked, cold wind would howl, and a faint blue mist would surround her body. She would occasionally send berserk balls of wind towards Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng didn't underestimate her. The attribute of the opponent's skill was similar to his bloodline. During the battle, he casually used his god's spiritual eye to see the characteristics of ice elemental skills. After dozens of exchanges, Zhao Feng seemed to have comprehended something, and his figure flashed. Shua shua. Two figures of Zhao Feng attacked Dong Shui from the left and right. Dong Shui panicked slightly, and was pushed back several yards by a palm of lightning. Her body went numb, and she couldn't move for a long time. Your ice jade incantation is not bad. It can already greatly reduce and restrict the speed of opponents of the same level. However, your close combat skills and agility are still lacking. Zhao Feng commented. Dong Shui stuck out her tongue. Thanks for the lesson. In terms of ice-type cultivation techniques, the northernmost profound ice palace was the best in the entire continent. Goddess Bing Wei of this generation of the Mystic Ice Palace has obtained the essence of the Mystic Ice inheritance and reached the top 3 in the last sacred true dragon gathering. Zhao Feng had heard of the Mystic Ice Palace before. It was one of the 10 great sects of the continent. The Mystic Ice Palace was rooted in the cold extreme north and was most famous for monopolizing one of the 4 great inheritances, the Mystic Ice inheritance. Every few decades, the Profound Ice Palace would have a chance to open the Profound Ice inheritance, and only those who cultivated ice-related techniques could enter. Subsequently, the second one was Dai Yi. She was sparring with Zhao Feng. Dai Yi's cultivation had reached the late stages of the true human rank, and she was just 1 point away from becoming one of the 10 stars. Zhao Feng and Dai Yi exchanged close to 100 moves, but he did not see any obvious flaws. Dai Yi's speed wasn't bad, and she was extremely agile. She was experienced in close combat. If one had to point out a flaw, it would be that she didn't have explosive power. However, this was because she didn't have a bloodline inheritance or a cultivation technique. Normal girls didn't have explosive power. This was the biggest difference between Dai Yi and Jiang Sanfeng. The last one was Jiang Sanfeng's turn. Zhao Feng still didn't use his eye bloodline. This battle was more intense, and the clash of lightning and fire was shocking. After 100 moves, Claw of Lightning, Zhao Feng used the same move and waved his hand. A claw of lightning several yards long appeared in the air, and with a crackle, it slammed down like lightning. A destructive and tyrannical power of thunder and lightning pressed down on Jiang Sanfeng. The numbness from the electric shock made Jiang Sanfeng feel deeply oppressed, making it difficult for him to breathe. Pa! Jiang Sanfeng was smashed onto the ground by the claw of lightning, and his body turned numb and black. He said with a depressed expression, "This move again." The claw of lightning was Zhao Feng's most powerful and practical move. It could lock onto an area, and was very hard to dodge. If it was used with the god's spiritual eye, the opponent would almost never be able to dodge unless their cultivation was much higher than Zhao Feng's. Zhao Feng smiled, but didn't say anything. Even if Jiang Somfeng's speed was twice as fast, he wouldn't be able to escape from the claw of lightning. Once the claw of lightning covered an area, it would cause a numbing effect and restrict the opponent's movement speed. Furthermore, Zhao Feng's mental energy locked onto the opponent's path. If it was used with the god's spiritual eye, he could predict the opponent's intentions. In less than half an incense stick of time, the three had lost to Zhao Feng. After losing, Jiang Samfeng asked to feel Zhao Feng's eye bloodline. With your cultivation, it'll be hard for you to block my eye bloodline. Zhao Feng faintly shook his head. Chapter leader, we don't want to break your eye bloodline, but there will be geniuses with other eye bloodlines appearing in the sacred True Dragon gathering. Dai Yi explained. Oh, you're sure they'll appear? Definitely. Jiang Samfeng said confidently. Zhao Feng thought about it. If the Sky Cloud Forest could have eye bloodlines like Lin Tong and himself, then it was normal for the Azure Flower Continent to have other strong eye bloodlines. Although eye bloodlines are rare, there's almost 100 of them on the continent. Among them, the three eye bloodline families had the most powerful eye bloodlines. In the sacred True Dragon gathering, the three eye families will send their geniuses to participate, and they're extremely hard to deal with. When mentioning the three eye families, Jiang Samfeng and company all had solemn expressions. In the past sacred True Dragon gatherings, unless one was extremely strong, they would lose badly when they met the geniuses of the three families. Last time in the sacred True Dragon gathering, I met the Tuoba family's heavenly piercing eye, and with one move, an invisible blade slashed across my throat. Jiang Samfeng said with a frightened expression, if it was a life or death battle, the Tuoba family's heavenly piercing, I would be able to slice Jiang Samfeng's throat or pierce his heart. Hearing this, Zhao Feng's heart shook. He wasn't the only family with a powerful eye bloodline. At the same time, he was filled with anticipation. Zhao Feng would be able to improve his eye bloodline techniques if he could see more eye bloodline techniques. One had to know that Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye specialized in learning and could copy techniques that weren't too complex. Alright then, as you wish. Zhao Feng stood still, and his blue hair blew without any wind. Eye of illusion. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye scanned over the three. Plop, plop, plop. Jiang Samfeng and the other two fell to the ground covered in cold sweat. Their faces were filled with shock. Enduring the eye of illusion once can increase your resistance against mental illusions. I also have the eye of heart and the eye of ice soul, which can control and erode the mind. Zhao Feng laughed. His eye bloodline had now formed a complete system. 2 days later, blood hair-colored Tiemo and the two elders took Zhao Feng and the other geniuses and set off. The golden spear blood dragon sedan opened the way, and its speed surpassed normal true mystic rank experts. Our target is the Northern Star Stand. However, the Canopy Great Country is one entity, and all the geniuses participating in the sacred True Dragon gathering will set off together. The Deputy Patriarch said. Canopy Great Country Imperials afield. The 10 stars led by Prince Jean, Tian Yunji and company arrived. Apart from that, there were also the Imperials, Iron Blood Religion, and other forces such as Dai Yi and Dong Shui. On the surface, the Great Country had 10 spots, but in reality, there were only 16. Of all the geniuses present, Prince Jean was the leader. Prince Jean stood at the very front, and when he saw Zhao Feng arrive, his expression became slightly dim. Zhao Feng's arrival caused many geniuses to look at him with wary and respectful gazes. He didn't feel anything as he closed his eyes and comprehended. Now, he had a certain level of foundation in his comprehension of the Ball of Ice Soul. Next, he tried to comprehend the Incomplete Dark Eye Secret Technique. The Dark Eye Incomplete Page and the Ball of Ice Soul were given to Zhao Feng by the scarlet-haired elder. Among them, the Dark Eye Incomplete Volume was a technique that focused on the eyes, and it was also a forbidden technique. Zhao Feng's consciousness soon entered the Dark Eye Incomplete Page world. Even when the geniuses of the Great Country set off, Zhao Feng didn't open his eyes. On the journey, the two elders rode a true mystic rank bird and carried the 4 geniuses, who, flying in the air. The wind was fierce and there were occasional bumps. Zhao Feng was still immersed in comprehension. Meow meow. The little thieving cat jumped out and burped as it took care of its master. Within the Golden Spear Blood Dragon sedan, Deputy Patriarch Tiemo revealed a faint smile. He had originally planned to let Zhao Feng enter the Blood Dragon sedan to comprehend, but didn't expect his little cat to put in so much effort. Although the little thieving cat was small, its strength and abilities weren't to be underestimated. It stood on Zhao Feng's shoulder and allowed the wind to sweep through the air. Once it got close to Zhao Feng, it would weaken. This cat. The Deputy Patriarch inspected the little thieving cat and thought of something. He had seen many feline-type spiritual pets, but he had only seen two truly mysterious and peculiar ones. One was the one in front of him. The other was the sage of the 6 Warlock Divine Tower. The Deputy Patriarch had seen the sage once before when the Patriarch was still a sovereign at the Origin Core realm. Under the guidance of the sage, the Patriarch fell into a deep sleep and waited for a ray of hope in the future. Meow, the little thieving cat seemed to sense something and glanced in the direction of the Golden Spear Blood Dragon sedan. The cunningness and intelligence in its eyes wasn't something that any living being could have in just 1 or 2 years. Within the dimension of his left eye, a tattered book appeared in the mental energy dimension. The book was tattered and many of its contents were blurry. Dark Eye Incomplete Page. Those without a powerful eye bloodline can't try it. Those below the Origin Core realm need to cultivate carefully. Zhao Feng scanned the contents and couldn't help but be moved. The requirements for cultivating this eye technique were simply too high. Firstly, one needed a powerful eye bloodline. Secondly, one's cultivation had to be at the Origin Core realm, and the lowest had to be at the True Lord rank. Zhao Feng didn't think too much about it since this was only the beginning. The ultimate goal of the Dark Eye Incomplete Page was to cultivate a forbidden eye bloodline technique, the Dark Eye of Death. Chapter 337. The Dark Eye of Death was the ultimate level of this forbidden technique, and it represented the intent of death. Once I cultivate the Death Nether Eyes, any living being's soul will have nowhere to hide from the gaze of the Nether Eyes, and will be forcibly taken away. Although it can't decide your life, it can control your death. Zhao Feng's understanding of the world was flipped once more. The Dark Eye of Death's essence was to comprehend the laws of death. Life and death were the laws of the world that couldn't be controlled. No one had ever heard of someone who could comprehend life and death and become immortal. Even sovereigns at the Origin Core realm only had a few hundred years of lifespan, and they couldn't comprehend life and death. Even Void God realm kings and emperors couldn't break free from the shackles of life and death. Above the Void God realm was the Mystic Light realm and the legendary Heavenly Divine realm. The Heavenly Divine realm was said to be on the level of gods and celestials. Maybe only those at this level could become immortal. The will that represents death. Is this Dark Eye Incomplete art of fantasy? Zhao Feng couldn't help but shake his head. He felt that it wasn't realistic. At the very least, this book was incomplete and extremely tattered. According to the description, the Dark Eye Incomplete Page had 9 incomplete pages, and only by combining them could one cultivate the ultimate Dark Eye of Death. With Zhao Feng's current level, he felt that the Dark Eye Incomplete Page was extremely profound. There were many terms inside that were extremely ancient. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Feng had stepped into the ancient Tao of the soul, he probably wouldn't even be able to touch the surface. Although Zhao Feng couldn't cultivate the Dark Eye Incomplete Page in a short amount of time, his horizons were broadened. There were many forbidden eye techniques in the Dark Eye Incomplete Page, and they were called Dark Eye techniques. Some of them could corrupt the opponent's mind and soul. Once one was hit by them, it would be impossible to heal them, and they would only be able to watch as they died. There were also some Dark Eye techniques that could collect the souls of the dead and use them to kill without leaving a trace. High-level secret magics could even be used to plant a terrifying and vicious curse on an enemy through the dark eyes. The 100 Graves Forbidden Ground that Zhao Feng had interacted with before had a powerful curse that even experts at the True Spirit realm couldn't escape. Up until now, only the Scarlet Moon religion leader had left safely. All in all, the secret eye techniques in the Dark Eye Incomplete volume were cruel and vicious. The invisible methods of death were chilling. The journey was long, and time passed slowly. Zhao Feng had started to dabble in the dark eye incomplete volume. Even though he had not stepped into this path, he had gained some comprehension and thought about it. Using the principles of some of the secret arts in the dark eye incomplete volume, Zhao Feng further improved the power of his eye bloodline. At this stage, he was still the core of the two. One was the core of the lightning inheritance, and the other was the ancient Tao of the soul with the Lord of Ice Soul as the core. One was in the physical world, and the other was in the spiritual world. Only by merging the two would Zhao Feng have a deeper foundation and capital. In the blink of an eye, nearly 2 months had passed. On this day, Zhao Feng slowly opened his eyes, a hint of exhaustion on his face. However, the light in his eyes gave off an even stronger mental energy pressure. After nearly 2 months of comprehension, Zhao Feng's 2 cores had improved greatly. The power of the Ice Soul Pearl's 2nd level had increased Zhao Feng's mental energy level to the point where it was no weaker than the true mystic rank. On the 2nd floor of the lightning inheritance, Zhao Feng's comprehension had reached the late stages. At this point in time, the outline of the star lightning seal on Zhao Feng's forehead became clearer. Even without using the power of the lightning inheritance, it could be seen. Meow meow. The little thieving cat yawned with sleepy eyes. And you've worked hard. Zhao Feng put the little thieving cat into the spiritual pet bag. However, when he checked the interspatial bracelet and ring, his expression changed. Damn thieving cat. Zhao Feng's eyebrows jumped in anger. The lightning star mark on his forehead pulsed vaguely, and the lightning and thunder yuan qi in the surroundings became unusually fierce, giving rise to crackling sounds. Over half of the resources and primal crystal stones in his interspatial dimension had been lost. Without even asking, it was obvious that they had been eaten by the little thieving cat. The little thieving cat never did hard work for free. It had protected Zhao Feng for nearly 2 months, and blocked the chaotic winds in the air, so it obviously had to pay for its services. What a strong aura of lightning. The representatives of the Canopy Great Country all sensed it. This was especially so for Prince Jean, and the other 10-star geniuses of the Great Country. Zhao Feng took a light breath and concealed his aura. He then picked up the little thieving cat. The little thieving cat had a pitiful look as it waved its paws around to explain. What? You're in the growing phase, and you need resources and primal crystal stones? Zhao Feng inspected the little thieving cat suspiciously. Even after eating the mountain of resource crystals, it did not show any obvious growth. Meow meow. The little thieving cat signaled that it would help Zhao Feng in the sacred true dragon gathering. Do you have any new abilities after eating so many of my resources? The little thieving cat. Zhao Feng shook his head and became more and more disappointed with this cat. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye sensed something and looked into the distance. In the distance, there was a bright white spot that gave off strange ripples. It was 500 kilometers away. The white light came closer and closer. We've finally arrived at the Northern Star Stand. A voice sounded from the Canopy Great Country group. That bright spot was a dazzling white stone platform that had a circumference of 5 kilometers. In the middle of the stone stand was an ancient black stone door. The white sparkling stone platform and the pure black, unadorned stone door were very conspicuous in the vast desert. This desert had a terrifying sandstorm that could swallow anyone under the true spirit realm. There were powerful beasts on the ground and in the air. Even those at the true human rank would die here. This is the Northern Star Stand. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye scanned over and found that the level of the arrays here exceeded his knowledge. This arrangement made him think of the stone stand in the middle of the 100 Graves forbidden ground. When the Canopy Great Country arrived, there were already many figures on the Northern Star Stand. The Purple Rising Great Country and Scarlet Sky Great Country have arrived. Prince Jin's eyes scanned across the crowd. At this moment in time, the people on the Northern Star Stand had formed their own groups. The geniuses of the 3 great countries of the northern continent had gathered together. Apart from that, there were many strong countries, sects, and families. There were probably close to 100 strong countries in the northern continent. However, each strong country only had 2 spots. Compared to them, the three great countries were the largest countries in the northern continent. Many strong countries were under the three great countries. For example, when the canopy great countries side descended, several strong countries' troops quickly gathered over. The three great countries were Purple Rising Great Country, Scarlet Sky Great Country, and Canopy Great Country. Zhao Feng found that the three great countries contained over half of the forces in the northern continent. After all, within a country, there were many sects and families that had their own spots. Hee hee, little golden pig, we meet again. A teasing female voice sounded from the Purple Rising Great Country. The leader of the Purple Rising Great Country was a heroic purple-haired girl, wearing a phoenix-embroidered battle robe. Little golden pig? Zhao Feng found that the phoenix-embroidered battle robe girl was facing the Canopy Great Country. This Princess Linyue. Prince Jin gritted his teeth, but felt his head hurt. Jiang Sanfeng suppressed his laughter and said in a low voice, Little Golden Pig is the nickname Princess Linyue gave to Prince Jin. However, Prince Jin was completely defeated by Princess Linyue twice. Princess Linyue was the princess of the Purple Rising Great Country, and also the strongest bloodline genius in the Great Country. Princess Linyue's strength is famous across the entire northern continent. Before, she had defeated two true mystic rank experts. In the last Sacred True Dragon gathering, Princess Linyue made it into the top 100. This time, her strength and bloodline have both increased greatly. The people on the Northern Star Stand discussed in low voices, or asked each other. Princess Linyue slowly walked over to the Canopy Great Country's side. Little golden pig, you're the leader of the Canopy Great Country? Looks like the geniuses of the Canopy Great Country aren't very good. Princess Linyue's eyes spun as she scanned the geniuses of the Canopy Great Country. Although it seemed to be a casual scan, her eyes contained a weird sharpness and pressure. The hearts of the geniuses who were scanned shook, and instinctively avoided her gaze. Wang Xiaoguai didn't show any weakness. A cold light flashed in Tian Yunji's eyes, as if an invisible blade had sliced through the air. Zhao Feng was unmoved and Lu Qinxin was quiet, and didn't want to compete with the world. Jiang Sanfeng instinctively avoided her gaze, unable to meet her gaze. Princess Linyue was secretly surprised. She had just used a secret technique of the Imperials to check her opponent's strength. If the opponent couldn't even meet her gaze, then it meant that they were at least 2 levels lower than her. If the opponent could meet her gaze, then it meant that they had the will to challenge her, and weren't much weaker than her. However, after checking, Princess Linyue was slightly surprised. Wang Xiaoguai and Tian Yunji were both able to meet her gaze, and even retaliate. Especially Tian Yunji's blade intent. It had almost shaken her mind. This Tian Yunji has comprehended such a strong embryonic blade intent. Looks like his strength might even surpass Prince Jin, and he's a strong opponent. Princess Linyue concluded. Apart from that, in the Canopy Great Country, Princess Linyue couldn't see through Zhao Feng and Lu Qinxin. Especially Zhao Feng, who was completely unmoved, as if he didn't care about her gaze. Hee hee, what beautiful blue hair. Princess Linyue flashed, and appeared in front of Zhao Feng with an envious expression. Zhao Feng's light blue hair was like a dream, as if it was made by the heavens. Princess Linyue also had another goal, and that was to investigate Zhao Feng's strength. But after looking closely, she confirmed that this guy was only at the early stages of the true human rank. There shouldn't be a second Exan Wuheng in the northern continent. Princess Linyue shook her head, and felt that she was thinking too much. From Princess Linyue's arrival to her departure, Zhao Feng didn't do anything. In the Canopy Great Country, Prince Jin and company broke out in cold sweat. The difficulty of dealing with this Princess Linyue. These veteran rising stars had a deep understanding of it. Whooshing sounds came from the air as more and more strong countries and sects gathered. Which strong country is this? It doesn't look familiar. A few people landed on a blood blue bird far away, and they didn't fit in with the others. Oh, come to think of it, it seems to be a very remote country called Iron Dragon. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.